Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
Hey, it's the Marines, Yoi, Marco yelled from the crow's nest. Luffy, Luna, get below deck. Thatch ordered as he drew his swords. But we want to fight, the two argued. Vista, a man with a mustache and two swords sighed. You've only just started learning hockey. Whitebeard finished the argument. Aye brats, do what your brothers tell you. Whitebeard said as he tilted his head to the side and poured more sake into his mouth. Yes Pops, Luffy and Luna said miserably as they went sulking below deck. Later at the after-party, Luffy was still upset. What's the matter, Yoi? Marco asked in concern. He rarely even saw Luffy sad, but it always upset the rest of the crew whenever it happened. I wanted to fight with you guys, Luffy said sadly. Luna agreed with her brother. You're still learning hockey and you have not learned to swim yet either, Anchor, Marco said, teasing Luffy due to his mishap of sinking to the bottom of the ocean, like an anchor. Yeah well, at least I don't have pineapple hair, Luffy countered as Luna giggled at the nickname they gave the 1st Division commander. Her brother was so funny. What? Marco screeched. Luna and Luffy chirped Marco's new nickname several times. Finally, they had found a way to annoy the usually stoic and serious Marco. This was rather exciting news. I do not have pineapple hair, Marco yelled, causing everyone in the dining hall to stop and stare at the commotion. They then laughed and agreed with the twins. Marco did have pineapple hair. Luffy got bored and saw a chest near a laughing Thatch. He quickly grabbed the chest and opened it. Inside was a strange-looking fruit with a lightning bolt stamped on it. Hey Luffy, what are you eating? Thatch asked Luffy, then he saw the open chest. Ah, spit it out Luffy. Spit it out. Thatch shook Luffy back and forth, attempting to make Luffy throw the fruit back up. Luffy wondered what the 4th Division commander was doing. The fruit tasted awful, but hey, it was food nonetheless. Suddenly, his legs turned to lightning bolts and zapped Thatch. Huh, that's never happened before, Luffy said, scratching his head in confusion. Luffy, you just ate the Guro no Mi. It's an Akuma no Mi. Eating them takes away your ability to swim. What? Luffy yelled. The entire crew continued to watch in curious fascination. You really are stupid, Yoi, Marco mocked. Pineapple hair, Luffy retorted, creating a tick mark on Marco's forehead. Luffy ran to Whitebeard's throne. Get back here, Marco shouted as he gave chase. Oh well, more food for me, Luna thought as she reached over and grabbed her brother's plate. What a kid, red-haired Shanks thought to himself as he saw Luffy rush past him. He was here to talk to Whitebeard about the world government's plans to defeat their enemies. Both had heard the rumors of the weapons. As Shanks approached Whitebeard's chair, he noticed the same child sitting on the armrest and sticking his tongue out at a fuming Marco. Marco noticed the red-haired pirate approaching and said, "Are you here to join the crew? Yoi?" he asked. "No thanks, I have my own crew," Shanks said, politely declining the invitation. "But I am here to discuss something important with your captain." "What is it?" Luffy asked, interrupting him. "By the way, do you have food?" "Ignore that. If you give him food and he'll think you have it all the time, Yoi," Marco explained. "What do you want, you red-haired brat?" Whitebeards asked, his wise voice joining in on the conversation. Whitebeard picked up Luffy and handed him to Izo, who placed him on the deck. Luffy listened in on the conversation between the two pirates. "You know very well what I want, Whitebeard. We both have heard the rumors of the world government's plans and weapons," Shanks implied. Whitebeard's only response to Shanks' concern was to laugh wholeheartedly. "And so you would act upon mere rumors with no evidence to back up your suspicions? Think boy, otherwise you will end up dead. If you won't listen to reason, I will force some into you. Shanks threatened and drew his sword. Who do you think I am? I am Whitebeard. Whitebeard pulled out his own weapon and the two clashed. Luffy and his sister Luna, who had by now gotten curious as to why Marco hadn't managed to trick her brother from leaving Pop's safety chair, as the two viewed it, saw their father under attack charged forward. What the hell do you think you're doing? They both yelled. Luffy, who reached Shanks first, punched him in the gut, sending him towards his sister, who unleashed a spin kick, sending the poor captain crashing into the railing of the ship. Shanks had been hit harder than that, but he was expecting a weak throw. Shanks mumbled, "Sorry," before releasing a wave of Conker's haki. He was suffice to say he was surprised that both remained conscious. "Hey, put me down, Uncle Fosa, Auntie Izo." The two yelled as Fosa and Izo picked the two up to stop them. Now the Whitebeard pirates had tried telling the two that Izo was a man. But Luna insisted that Izo must be a girl because she wore clothing that ladies wore. "I'm going to kick his ass for attacking Pops," the two yelled. Luffy kicked and screamed as he tried to get away. "Put me down," the twins repeated. Subconsciously, Luffy released haki, knocking out members of the crew and others to struggle. They succeeded in getting free before being picked up by Pops. "Stay out of this, brats. This is my fight, not yours." He tossed the Luffy to Marco and Luna to Vista, who both held on more tightly. "I'm leaving," Shanks said suddenly. "There's no point in fighting you, although you're pretty strong." "Yeah," Luffy responded. "I'm going to kick your ass and surpass Whitebeard and his crew one day." Whitebeard laughed. "Oh, you're going to beat us both one day? In that case, I'm going to entrust to you my most valuable treasure," Shanks said before handing Luffy his straw hat and placed it upon his head. "Return it once you have beaten both of us," Shanks said. He truly believed that Luffy could accomplish his goal in beating both him and Whitebeard. "Hey Pops," Marco called. "You know as well as I what Luffy did. He subconsciously used Conker's haki, yoi." Whitebeard nodded and replied, "It seems that's something else we will have to teach them." "What do you mean by them?" Marco asked. "If Luffy has it, his twin sister probably has it as well." "It's Vice Admiral Garp," someone in the crow's nest called out. "He seems more pissed than usual," Marco commented with a small smile. "Looks like the cat was out of the bag." "So what do you want to see me about, Dad?" Garp remembered his son saying. "I came to see my grandson and granddaughter. Why else would I come here for?" Garp had not met them, although Dragon told him around 7 years ago that he had raised them himself. Now he was drastically changing the answer. "Oh, I entrusted them to Whitebeard's care when they were born. They must be about 7 now. I lied to you about raising them myself, due to the fact that I knew you would never have let them be raised by pirates." "You did what?" Garp said angrily in shock. He then threw a punch at Dragon, which was easily dodged. "Sorry old man, you're too slow," Dragon said, smiling as he disappeared. "Whitebeard, give me my grandchildren," Garp yelled at the Whitebeard ship. Marco gulped, having seen Garp and Pops fight when Luffy and Luna were toddlers. They had been too busy playing with toys to hear the sounds of the battles. "We can't hide Luffy and Luna from him this time," Jozu noted. "What makes you think we're going to let you take them, Garp?" Whitebeard yelled as the ships clashed. Luffy and Luna heard the sounds of battle and quickly ran upstairs to fight alongside the rest of the crew. No one was going to stop them this time. Luffy sent one of the Marines flying overboard with a punch to the gut as the pair charged into battle. "Children," the Marines thought to themselves. "If we capture them, we may have an advantage." They charged the two 7-year-old twins, or kicked overboard. "Oye, Luffy and Luna, get below deck," Marco yelled. He really hoped Garp had not seen the two of them. Garp was currently fighting Whitebeard, sending punch after punch. Garp became visible to Luffy and Luna's presence on the deck, and he took a shot at Luffy. Whitebeard, seeing who Garp was aiming for, sent a Gura Gura no Mi-infused punch at Garp, whom easily dodged the attack and slammed Luffy headfirst into the deck. Luna attacked next, defending her brother. She was also slammed headfirst into the deck. "Don't think I'm going to go easy on you two just because you are my grandchildren," Garp said, cracking his knuckles. Many of the Marines and pirates stopped fighting at this newfound information. The battle cleared as the Marines returned to their battered ships and Garp sat down to speak with his grandchildren. What kind of grandpa punches his old grandson, you shitty old geezer? Luffy said, which Luna agreed with wholeheartedly. Seriously, what kind of grandfather slams their grandchildren headfirst into the deck? Hey, brats. Show your grandpa Garp some respect, Garp yelled as he slammed them into the deck again. All you did is punch me again, you damn geezer, Luffy snapped, and again, Luna agreed with her brother. Someone needs to be taught a lesson in manners, Garp proposed as he glared at the twins, sending the siblings running away scared towards Whitebeard. Shave! Garp yelled, disappearing and then reappearing in front of the mischievous duo. Luffy and Luna gave him their puppy dog eyes. No one could resist the twins' puppy dog eyes, not even Whitebeard. Garp was no exception to this. Sorry, Garp nodded as he ruffled the twins' hair, is that better? Yes, but you're still a geezer, the twins yelled as the two ran behind Whitebeard's chair. When I catch you two, you're dead, Garp yelled as he continued running after them. Luffy stuck his tongue out at Garp, repeating the word, geezer. Whitebeard laughed. Hey Pops, Luffy said as he ran. What? Whitebeard questioned. Geezer. Luffy said as Luna laughed until she noticed Whitebeard was giving them a glare. You better hope that Garp catches you before I do. 'Cause I will do much more harm to you than he will, Whitebeard said, threatening the twins. Luffy gulped before he and his twin sister Luna ran away from both old men. Marco decided not to get between them and only watched as Luffy gave his pursuers the puppy eyes. I'm not falling for that, Garp responded. He was stopped by Whitebeard. If anyone's teaching those brats a lesson, it will be me or one of the crew. Luffy laughed at Garp. Don't think I forgot about the whole geezer thing. I'm going to have Marco and Thatch beat some manners into you, brat. Whitebeard said angrily. Luffy only gulped. Later, Garp sighed. His grandchildren were finally asleep. What are you thinking about, Yoi? Marco said, hearing the Vice Admiral ponder. I'm wondering what's best for them. They seem truly happy with you and I don't want to take that away. You know, Luffy said before he fell asleep that he was glad you came and would be happy to see you again, Marco reassured. The little tyke said that? Garp said, surprised. Marco nodded. I should probably get going. Tell Luffy and Luna that I'll visit them in a few months if it is possible. 1 month later. This is not good, said Marco, who was looking at the morning newspaper. What's not good, pineapple? Asked Thatch, who had taken to calling Marco that ever since Luffy had dubbed him as having pineapple hair. In all honesty, Marco was getting sick of the stupid nickname. Read the paper yourself, he said, throwing the article at him as he spoke. Kaido strikes Kurst. As we all know, Kurst is an island in the New World. The second half of the Grand Line for those of you unfamiliar with the term. Kurst is completely covered in forest. It is that thick that you cannot see the sun upon entering. Despite this, the island is indeed colonized. The people living there have built their homes high up in the trees, carving out massive walkways and stairs. Furthermore, the island in question is under Whitebeard's protection. A fellow Yonko and one of Kaido's 3 rivals. Is this a declaration of war by Kaido? How will Whitebeard respond? Especially with the rumors of Whitebeard taking in 2 children turns out to be true. The rumor first came about 4 to 5 years ago when civilians saw 2 kids boarding the Yonko's ship in question, not once but multiple times. Even though the islands changed, the 2 were always described the same by different people. After a while, the Marines were forced to investigate said rumors due to the numerous reports of the 2 kids in question, sending Vice Admiral Garp the Fist, also known as the hero of the Navy, to disprove or confirm the rumors. Garp tracked the Whitebeard pirates down, clashing near the Flust, another island in the New World. See page 29 for details. Witnesses to the fight described it as watching gods clash. Garp confirmed the rumors as false, even publicly announcing them as false. Despite this, the rumors and the reports persisted. Surely with the rumors continuing, there must be some truth to them. This is horrible, said Thatch as he finished reading. Luffy and Luna may be able to deal with the odd pirate and marine attack, said Thatch. But they'll be helpless against a Yonko's crew, Yoi, said Marco. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Thatch repeated while running up and down the deck in a panic. Marco simply stuck his foot out, tripping Thatch, and sending him face first into the deck. That hurt, he screamed while sitting up. If you've calmed down, Marco began, I was going to see what Pops wants to do about it. Thatch food, the twins yelled loudly as they came bounding up to him. Marco leaned and whispered in. Don't tell anyone. I'm going to give this to Pops, then we can plan what to do. A week later. So why are you here, Whitebeard? Asked Shanks. The older pirate let out a laugh. I have a favor to ask, Whitebeard responded. I'm going to regret this, but what is it? Asked Shanks. I need you to take in 2 certain kids of mine. You may remember your little scuffle with them a week ago, said Whitebeard. I know you're already fond of the 2, he continued. Well, I was going to say yes and offer to take them in while you fought your war with Kaido anyway. However, I was thinking of taking a vacation to East Blue. You're okay with that, right? Take them where you wish within reason, said Whitebeard. Luffy Luna, he called. Yes, Pops. The twins yelled as they came bounding up to their father. Do you have everything you need? Asked Whitebeard. Yep, Pineapple Hair is bringing it over, said Luffy. Will you stop calling me that? Yoi? Marco snapped, dropping Luffy and Luna's bags onto the deck of Shanks's ship. Nope, said Luffy, popping the page. Marco's voice turned serious. Now remember, you 2 listen to Shanks and do what he tells you to do. And most importantly, don't eat him out of ship and home. We promise, Marco, the twins yelled excitedly. After all, this would be the first time they would be without their family's supervision while away from the Moby. 1 week later. East Blue. Fuchsia Village. What the hell is the old geezer doing here? Yelled Luna as she barely managed to dodge a punch. I don't know, Luffy yelled back, who was running beside her. Heck, he didn't know we're staying with Shanks. Get back here, you 2, yelled a vengeful-looking Garp. This had the opposite effect as the 2 doubled their attempt to get away. Was that Luffy and Luna being chased by Garp? Thought Shanks before sighing out loud. I need to stop drinking, he said. That's when it hit him, he hadn't had anything to drink. Hang on, Luffy. Luna, Uncle Shanks is coming. He yelled, giving chase, preparing to clash with Garp the hero. Garp stared. The red-haired brat's crew stared him down. Luffy, Luna were shoved protectively in the middle. I think we have a misunderstanding here, spoke Garp. Yay, his defense not wavering. What reason do you have to chase 2 kids around all morning? I'm their grandfather, Garp said rather plainly, causing most the crew to stare in shock. Yeah, but all you do is hit us, your old geezer, yelled Luffy. Yeah, Luna agreed. Show your grandpa the respect he deserves, yelled Garp, hitting the 2, somehow getting into the center of the circle. So how did you end up looking after my 2 grandkids? Asked Garp. Things had calmed down since this morning, and now Shanks along with Garp were sharing a drink. Whitebeard asked me to, Shanks answered. I'm sure you've heard the news about his war with Kaido. Yeah, said Garp. So that's why, huh? Better that they don't get involved with that, spoke Garp in one of his rare serious moments. So how long are you going to stay here? Garp asked suddenly. Probably a year, answered Shanks, taking a swig from his bottle. I'll drop in when I can, spoke Garp before finishing his drink, before walking off into the night. Well, today was certainly interesting, thought Shanks. Now where did those 2 brats go? The next morning Luna walked alone the beach. It's not like she was doing anything wrong. She could still see the ship. Besides, she needed time to think. Unknown to Garp and Shanks, she had overheard their conversations. This wasn't a vacation. Pops wanted them safe away from the war that had been started. It hurt to know how many of her family were hurt already, how many were dead, how many put on a brave face during their goodbye party. She had thought something was odd at the time, but decided not to worry about it. Now she was regretting not pressing for answers. Unlike her brother, she was rather intelligent and preferred to think things though. So why didn't she ask what was bothering Marco and her other uncles and aunts before their departure? Angered, she kicked a stone only to cradle her foot in pain. It was then she noticed a strangely colored fruit with a few swirls had washed up on the beach. Not really thinking and hungry as she had skipped breakfast, she stuffed it into her mouth. Disgusting, she thought, but food was food, and just like that she teleported into the kitchen of Shanks' ship. Everyone stared at her. Shanks broke the silence. Haha, looks like we have 2 anchors, haha. At least I don't have tomato hair, Luna retorted. Hey, you're just copying my pineapple hair joke, interrupted Luffy. I do not have tomato hair, yelled Shanks. Shut up, you 2, and have your breakfast, said Lucky Roo, placing a plate of food in front of them. Hey Luna, want to explore the island with me? Asked Luffy. But didn't the 2 of you get to explore the island yesterday? asked Shanks. No, the geezer chasing us prevented any exploring, reasoned Luffy, and just like that the two ran off into the forest with excited calls of adventure. It didn't take long for the two twins to run into trouble, at least trouble by East Blue standards. A massive tiger stood in front of them. Excellent. He's about the same size as the average Grand Line tiger, thought Luffy, who brought a hand up. Lightning bolt. An instant later the tiger collapsed. Sabo, did you see that? Stuttered Ace. Yeah, I saw it. Sabo replied calmly. I wonder how Shanks is doing, spoke Luna. It had been several weeks since the red-haired pirates had left. Both Luffy and Luna were adamant about staying with their new brothers. He's probably reached the second half of the Grand Line by now, Luna, reasoned Sabo. Still, I wonder, said Luna, as she glanced at the sparring match between Ace and Luffy. Ace leapt to the side to avoid the bolt of lightning, all the while swinging his metal staff, colliding with Luffy's own metal staff. Lightning surge. Immediately stray bolts of lightning shot from the staff at random. Watch it, brother, cried Luna, who had just teleported out of the way of one such bolt. Meanwhile, Ace had leapt back to avoid the bolts, battling away the ones that had gotten too close with his metal staff that was inserted inside a rubber tube. He also had rubber gloves and boots on to hit Luffy and their spar. Getting in close again, he swung, dodging another bolt, before connecting the hit to Luffy's face, sending the younger boy flying straight into a tree. So that's 51 to Ace and 49 for Luffy, spoke Sabo. The four siblings had been sparring constantly throughout the past weeks. Currently Luna had the most wins due to her Telly no Mi, otherwise known as the teleport fruit, allowing her to teleport away from their attacks, such as behind them and then counter. Only Luffy's Lightning Devil fruit came close to matching her speed. Of course, Ace always insisted that he let her win because you're supposed to be nice to girls. This of course would prompt another spar which Luna would win, and the cycle would repeat itself every day. So what do we do now? Asked Luffy, having unstuck himself from the tree. Well, we do have these crocodile skins to sell, spoke Sabo. That we do, agreed Luna. Luffy nodded. Well, looks like we're going into the city, stated Ace. We should get some ramen too, said Luffy. Ramen sounds nice, spoke Luna. Oi, you in the cloak, called a guard. Yes, replied the stranger. What business do you have in the city? Asked the guard. The man in the cloak turned around, opening a bag. Crocodile skins, he responded. That a problem? And no problem, stuttered the guard. Good, then I'll be on my way, he said, before heading into the city and turning down an alley. It didn't take long to draw unwanted attention as 20 thugs soon surrounded them. How about you just hand over that package? Smirked the ugliest looking thug there. You guys really should pick your targets more carefully, spoke the stranger in the cloak, before flinging it off, revealing 4 kids standing on each other's shoulders. These thugs are too weak, complained Ace as he easily battened them aside. No, it's not that we've gotten stronger, spoke Sabo. I know they can't even touch me anymore, giggled Luffy. As if to prove his point, Luffy dissipated into lightning, allowing a sword to pass harmlessly through him. Spark shot, tiny balls of lightning shot from Luffy. Laughter was heard from the group that were attacking Luffy. Luffy merely smirked. Storm, he whispered. Immediately the balls exploded, shooting out bolts of lightning everywhere. Careful, Lu, yelled Sabo as he leapt aside to avoid it. Sorry, Sabo, replied Luffy. I know what you mean, interrupted Luna whilst parrying a strike from a sword with her sai before touching his hand. Bye now. She waved cheerily as all her opponents had been marked. They simply vanished. How we win? The two twins yelled cheerfully. Only because you two have devil fruits, reasoned Sabo, who quickly smashed the last thug attacking him. Just Ace did the same. Retrieving the contents from the thugs' pockets and placing their disguise back on, the 4 kids under the cloak continued further into the city, eventually arriving at the tannery to sell their crocodile skins, which would later be turned into leather. Upon receiving payment, the cloaked stranger left, heading for the restaurant district. This place looks nice, whispered Ace as they stopped in front of a fancy-looking place called the Emerald Saloon. Hello and welcome to the "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't serve your kind here," spoke the waiter. No matter, I think this will clear it up, spoke the cloaked man as he revealed a golden medallion. What an honor, a noble entering my establishment. Please allow me to escort you to the VIP room, spoke the waiter as he led them upstairs to a private room. Now here is the menu, please let us know if want any drinks or starters. I'll be back in a few minutes to check if you're ready to order. Here you are 4 orders of ramen. I shall leave you in peace, said the waiter, just like the waiter said he did return, and the noble ordered ramen which had just arrived. Get back here you brats, yelled the restaurant owner from the second story as 4 kids rushed through the streets. Damn it Luffy, did you have to turn into lightning to grab the food from the waitress? Yelled Ace. Don't bother, it's Luffy, was Sabo's uninterested reply. What did you expect from my brother? Asked Luna. You guys are jerks, yelled Luffy. Luna, can't you just teleport us out? Asked Sabo. Ace needs the exercise, responded Luna. Oh, I do not, protested Ace. It was then they ran past a nobleman who called out, Sabo, is that you? Immediately all 4 stopped in shock as the stranger continued to talk to Sabo. Eventually the 4 continued moving. Sabo was tied to a tree as his 3 siblings began to interrogate him. Alright Sabo, who was that old man? Asked Ace. No one, I've never seen that person in my life, answered Sabo. Seems to me like that person thought different, remarked Ace. So who is he? There was short pause. You're not a runaway noble, are you? I mean, it adds up when you showed that waiter the crest he called us a noble, reasoned Luna. No, denied Sabo. I see, so you're a noble, then go back to Hightown, spat Ace. How did you figure that out, Ace? Asked Luffy. Well, that guy was obviously a noble, and nobles only associate themselves with other nobles, and if he's not a runaway then he's laughing at our stupidity, reasoned Ace. Ace, don't you think you're being a bit too hard on him? I mean, sure he's hiding something, but he's still our brother. Her voice was gentle now. He'll come clean when he's ready. But I'm hurt Sabo, aren't we siblings? Didn't we exchange sake cups? Didn't we agree to not hide secrets from each other? She was screaming now. All was that all for nothing? She yelled with tears streaming down her face. Ace put his arms around and held the sobbing girl as she buried her face into his chest. Meanie Sabo, yelled Luffy. Fine, I was born a noble, but I couldn't stand it for the longest time. My parents told me I would be happy if I married someone of a higher station, but after a run-in with the prince where I injured him in self-defense, my basted parents punished me. After that I ran away. I know Ace never met his folks, and Luffy and Luna's had to give them to Whitebeard for their own protection. But I'm ashamed to be born as their son. Untie him, said Ace. Thanks, said Sabo. No more secrets, Sabo, said Luna between sniffles. Yes, Luna, no more secrets. So what are you going to do when you're older? Asked Sabo. I don't plan on doing anything. In fact, I think I may stay with Pops, maybe fall in love and have a child of my own, said Luna while taking a subtle glance at Ace, who blushed. Well, I'm going to take down everyone that crosses my path. The world will know my name, the name of the Portuguese de Ace, spoke Ace. Alright, then I will become the king of the pirates, yelled Luffy. And who said I'm going to let you 3 become pirates? Roared Garp. And you? Said Garp, rounding on Luna. What makes you think I'm going to let you marry a pirate? I never said I'd marry a pirate, I said I fall in love with a cute boy. For all I know he might be a young marine, said Luna, trying to pacify Garp's anger. What was Ace's outburst? Luckily he was ignored. Really, you think so? Said Garp, getting right up into her face. Of course he'd have to be cute and around the same age, and have freckles. I like Frian. Meanwhile, Garp had taken out a transponder snail and began dialing Sengoku. What is it? Asked Sengoku. Oi Sengoku, are there any vice admirals or admirals with sons or grandsons around Luna age? Garp yelled excitedly. Oh, it's you? Mumbled Sengoku. And to answer your question, I would have to check the files and stop trying to hook your granddaughter up with children of respectable marines. There was the unmistakable sound of the Den Den Mushi hanging up. Right, said Garp, putting away the transponder snail. I believe you 3 need a. Garp blinked. He blinked again. There was something missing, namely all 4 kids. Said 4 kids bolted through the forest as if the hounds of hell were right behind. Is he following? Asked Sabo. Who cares, just run for it, yelled Ace. Thank God Luna distracted him, spoke Sabo. Yeah, thanks Luna, you're a lifesaver, said Ace. Happy to help, said Luna with a wink. All 4 were at the opposite end of the forest now. I think this is far enough, said Luffy. Captain, spoke Doc. What? Asked Shanks. He found us, replied Doc. Shanks gulped in fear as soon as he returned to the new world. He had been avoiding Whitebeard like the plague. Run for it, Shanks yelled, as he started running only to end up on the ground. "And where do you think you're going?" asked Whitebeard. "Whitebeard, what a surprise, I was just on my way to Kurst to contact you," lied Shanks. "So where are the two brats?" asked Whitebeard. "Funny story," replied Shanks. "You see, they found two kids on Dawn Island in East Blue, and well, they kind of became siblings and didn't want to leave their new bothers. I believe Luffy's and Luna's exact words were, 'The old geezer can come here and get us toddles,'" yelled Shanks while bolting past Whitebeard as he let the shock of the news distract him. "Unfurl the sails," yelled Shanks as he jumped onto the Red Force. "I don't care if you get left behind," yelled Shanks to the crew members behind him, who quickly jumped onto the ship. "Captain, several of Whitebeard's allies are heading straight for us. Full speed ahead, maybe we can nick past them." "I think not, brat," yelled Whitebeard as his ship rammed into the Red Force. Shanks was thrown face first into the deck. "Anyone get the name of the ship that hit me?" muttered Shanks. "Oh, that's right, I'm screwed," said Shanks as he met the eyes of the furious Yonko. "You're in for some serious trouble now, brat," roared Whitebeard. "What are you going to do?" asked Shanks. Whitebeard simply strolled over to the cargo hold, before ripping off the door. "Such an irresponsible brat doesn't need all this booze," said Whitebeard before removing 2 barrels and heading it to Marco, who flew it over to the Moby. No, you can't be serious," yelled the red-haired captain. "I'm not serious, I am Whitebeard." "Oi, Marco," called Whitebeard. The circling Phoenix landed. "What is it, Pops?" "It seems we're taking a vacation to East Blue," stated Whitebeard. "Those two are always trouble. Yoi, next time how about we just count on Luffy and Luna getting into trouble and plan how to get them out of trouble," joked Thatch. Several hours later, my booze," sniffed a certain red-haired captain. He had been repeating this mantra ever since Whitebeard left for his trip to East Blue. Marines freaked. Yonko arrives in East Blue. The higher-ups of the Marines were thrown into a frenzied panic when Marine Captain Bulwark reported that the Yonko Whitebeard briefly appeared in Logatown, before heading further into East Blue. Concerned civilians are calling for an admiral to be dispatched in order to ensure their safety. In an interview, Fleet Admiral Sengoku stated that an admiral has been dispatched along with several vice admirals and should arrive within a few days' time. When asked for advice on what we should if Whitebeard's ship is seen approaching your island, he stated, "Contact the Marines and then clear out. You must absolutely avoid a confrontation with anyone from his crew." It is unknown if this will affect the World Nobles tour of East Blue. We also don't know what Whitebeard's intentions are. A big-time pirate, Shanks, a veteran of the New World, caused a similar scare when he arrived in East Blue a few months ago. Many speculate that Shanks did something to anger the Emperor during their meeting shortly before Shanks's arrival in East Blue. "Great, just great," mumbled Marco. "What's great?" asked Thatch. Marco just pointed to the article. "So what, there's an admiral chasing us, we'll just send him back to Marine HQ broken and bruised," explained Thatch. "That's not the point, yoi," raged Marco. "Look on the bright side," said Thatch. "What bright side, yoi?" replied Marco. "Luffy and Luna know we're coming," said Thatch with the biggest smile on his face. Author note: well, it took me a while, but I did it, so tell me your thoughts on it till next time. Omake. So Luna, where did those thugs go when you teleported them? Asked Ace. No idea, I wasn't concentrating on the where, answered Luna. Sengoku office. Sengoku was currently enjoying not having any paperwork as he glanced at the innocent paperweight that Garp had given him, saying it was a gift from his granddaughter Luna to him, when suddenly it started glowing bright. Picking it up and throwing it away as a safety precaution. There was a bright flash of light and suddenly 5 thuggish-looking men stood in his office. "Hand over your valuables, old man." Sengoku sighed. Somehow he just knew Garp was responsible for this. Luna rushed excitedly though the forest this morning, newspaper clutched tightly in her hand, as she headed towards the treehouse where herself and her brothers now lived. Ironically, she could have just teleported to their home. However, she did not want to rely on her devil fruit to do everything. Otherwise she end up like all those other overconfident devil fruit users. Luffy, Ace, Sabo, great news, she called. There were several loud bangs and crashes before someone, presumably Ace, called out. God damn it, Luna, it's too early for this, said Ace, appearing at the rail. Now Ace, I'm sure our sister has a good reason for waking us up, reasoned Sabo. Is it food? Yelled Luffy. No Luffy, it's not food, said Luna, appearing in a flash next to Luffy. it's even better. What could be better than food? Asked Luffy. Oh, I don't know how about the fact that Pops is on his way. Why you mean Whitebeard's coming here? Said Sabo, trying to keep his trembling voice under control. The strength that rivaled his, whispered Ace. Yay, I get to eat that just tasty food again. Yep, isn't it great? Said Luna, sounding far too cheerful. Well, now that we're all up, I suppose we should get some breakfast, spoke Sabo. Collecting their pipes and other supplies, the 4 kids headed off into the forest to catch or find their breakfast. What's wrong, Marco? Asked Whitebeard. I don't know, Pops. I just have this uneasy feeling, he answered. You know, you could go on ahead, suggested Whitebeard. But what if we run into the Admiral or the Vice Admirals, reasoned Marco. I'm pretty sure you're brothers and I can deal with a few Marines, besides I have the same uneasy feeling. At this rate we will arrive at about the same time as the World Noble. And I think things will go a lot smoother if we have a commander already there to ensure their safety. Thanks, Pops, said Marco before flying off into the night sky. So what do we do now? Asked Luna. Well, we still have repaired the treehouse from last night's storm, answered Sabo. Well, what are we waiting for? There should be plenty of scrap wood we can use at the Grey Terminal, said Ace. Maybe we can find a telescope, cheered Luffy. It was around midday and currently 4 kids were currently collecting driftwood, unaware of the approaching danger. Ace, Sabo, we need to leave now, spoke Luna. It's too late for that, sis, we're surrounded, reasoned Luffy. Just before the 4 siblings could form a circle, 2 shots were fired, entrapping Luffy and Luna in separate nets. I feel weak, said Luffy. It's sea prism stone, said Luna. Damn it, let them go, yelled Ace and Sabo as they beat back the thugs that were surrounding them. However, it didn't take long for them to be captured as well. Now, Sabo, you shouldn't struggle, father, said Sabo. We got them just like you wanted, said Blue Jam. Well, here your payment and make sure they never bother Sabo again. I think that can be arranged, said Blue Jam. No, wait, father, I'll do everything you say, just don't harm them, spoke Sabo. No, Sabo, don't sacrifice your freedom for our sakes, yelled Luna. Such insolence, you filthy commoner, do you not realize Sabo is my son? As such, it's his duty to live how his father demands. This is goodbye, said Sabo. Sabo, all 3 kids screamed. Luna, you can teleport Sabo out, right? Asked Ace. To what end? It would be pointless, and it will just cause an endless game of cat and mouse until his father does something drastic. Besides, Pops will be here soon and then we can storm Hightown to get our brother back. Sabo should be able to hold out till then. She's right, Ace, we can't do a thing for Sabo at the moment, said Luffy. Ace took a deep breath before calmly asking, okay, so what do we do? I don't particularly trust Blue Jam, but I think it's our best option for now, said Luna. Agreed, said Ace, so we continue moving the supplies he wants us to move. I guess, said Luffy. A circle of endless smoke and flame surrounded them as the fire raged on with no end in sight, burning down Grey Terminal. Ace, cough. I think this is the end, cough, said Luna. Don't talk like that, Luna, I'm almost through the rope, then we'll make it out of this together, reassured Ace. If only we didn't have these damn sea stone necklaces on, said Luna. Lou, what's wrong? Asked Luna, who had noticed her brother's silence. It's Marco, he's here, replied Luffy. Marco, save us, he screamed. Marco glided around the massive fire, continuing to circle it, hoping he would see, hear, or his haki would pick up his nephew and niece when he heard it. Immediately turning around, he flapped his majestic flaming wings, doubling his speed, and flying through the burning trash heap without worry. His phoenix power made the flames harmless anyway. Before gliding to a smooth landing in front of 3 kids. Luffy, what have you done this time, Yoi? I haven't done anything to anyone, said Luffy. Truly? Asked Marco. Yep, replied Luffy. Need I remind you two that we're in the middle of an inferno here, yelled Luna. Right, said Marco, taking out a knife and cutting the rope, setting them free. Soon after, Ace quickly removed the sea prism stone. Time to go, said Luna as she grabbed hold of Ace and Luffy. See you on the other side, Marco. And immediately she disappeared, leaving a shocked Marco behind. I should have figured, said Marco. He then transformed and flew out of the burning trash heap. We're far enough away, we should be safe here, spoke Luna as all 3 siblings watched the raging fire. Those nobles are spoke Ace. Sis, Ace, I'm going to signal Marco, said Luffy as he raised his hand before firing a lightning bolt directing above them. A few minutes later, a flaming blue bird could be seen flying towards them in the night sky. It didn't take long before said bird transformed into Marco, started free falling the last few feet. Now then, Luffy. Luna, aren't you going to introduce me to your new brother Yoi? This is my brother Ace. Ace, this our uncle Marco. Say hi, spoke the two twins. Hi, nice to meet you I guess, said Ace. Nice to meet you to Ace. Now as I understand it, isn't there supposed to be 4 of you, not 3? Sabo's been kidnapped, said Luffy. And you haven't done anything to get him back, retorted Marco. Sabo's not really in any danger as his bastard noble father kidnapped him. And we were going to wait for Pop's arrival before I teleport him out right onto Pop's ship. As we sail away. Hopefully by the time his father realizes what's happened, Sabo will be halfway across East Blue with us, reasoned Luna. Marco was gobsmacked at Luna's plan. He stared and stared before saying, I take it you guys have a place to stay. Yep, said Luna. Please hold onto my hand. Okay, first time teleporters, hold on tight, spoke Luna before all 4 disappeared in a flash. So where are we now? Yoi, asked Marco. Dayton's place, said Luna. Home to the fiercest mountain bandits on the island, also they tell themselves, stated Luffy. This is where you've been staying, Yoi, yelled Marco. No, we've been staying in the jungle, said Luffy. The jungle? Marco's voice had gotten louder. And guess what? Luffy continued. The animals are about the same size as regular Grand Line animals. Luffy, you can stop talking now, said Luna, who had noticed the furious look Marco was sprouting. That's it, I'm not leaving you two alone with Shanks again, Yoi, stated a furious Marco. Why? Asked a clearly oblivious Luffy. Well, let's see, first he lets your sister eat a devil fruit. Then he leaves you here in East Blue without adult supervision. And then you end up living with bandits. Is there anything else I missed? Hey, Shanks didn't leave us here without adult supervision. He entrusted Garp to keep an eye on us, said Luffy. How the hell did your grandfather find you here? Besides, I don't see him doing his job, Yoi, said Marco. That's kinda my fault, you see, I'm kinda of his adopted grandson, said Ace. Will you brats shut up, yelled Dayton as she opened the door. With all the racket you're making, none of us can hang up to them. Before her eyes caught Marco in her sight. Who the hell are you? Marco put on the brightest smile. Well, hello there. I'm Marco, the Phoenix 1st Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. And Curly Dayton did the same thing she did when Garp first showed up on her doorstep. She promptly faded from shock. Well, that went well, Yoi, said Marco, only to notice all 3 kids had rushed inside. He soon followed suit. The next morning, the Moby was floating just out of sight of the World Noble's ship as it arrived at Goa Kingdom. Guess this means we wait, said Thatch. A pity, really, I won't get to meet our new siblings. What were their names again? Ass and Spazo, joked Thatch, as he looked through the telescope spying on the welcoming ceremony. Holy shit, immediately Thatch jumped over the railing, swimming as fast as he could. Vista and Jozu looked up from their poker match just in time to see a world noble open fire on a small fishing vessel with a child on it. Come on, kid, where are you? Thought Thatch as he arrived at the wreckage a few minutes later. Dive after dive he took, determined to find the kid and save him. Resurfacing after another dive, his hockey finally picked up something faint a short distance away. It didn't take him long to find the child. After that, holding him in one hand, he began to swim back towards the Moby. It wasn't long before he was back on deck and the nurses and doctors took the boy off his hand for treatment. Come on, pick up, thought Marco as his Den Den Mushi repetitively rang, before letting out a sigh of relief as he heard the familiar sound of the Den Den Mushi being answered. I don't care who you are, take it to Pops now, we have emergency, yelled Marco. Right away, Commander Marco, replied somebody. Marco, did you find Luffy, Luna and our new brothers? Asked Whitebeard. Yes, but we have a problem. They've gone after the World Noble when they heard that Sabo was killed by the bastard. I don't have much time, but we're going to have to storm the island and hope we can get to the World Noble before them, spoke Marco. Well shit, thought Whiteboard. My sons were storming the island, yelled Whitebeard. With Luffy, Luna and Ace. Before I execute you, tell me, what did you hope to gain? Asked Admiral Akainu. It was curiosity that stayed his hands from killing these 3 beaten and exhausted kids in front of him. Don't get him wrong, he was still going to kill them. He just wanted to know why they would try to harm a world noble. All three looked the admiral in the eye without any sense of fear before responding at the same time, "To avenge our brother." Of all the things Admiral Akainu could think of for doing this one had to be the most stupid reason to attack a world noble. However, it showed how loyal the three were to their friends and family, for that he would make their deaths quick. His arm soon turned to magma, dripping small amounts onto the ground. He cocked his arm back and began to throw the magma punch forward. It was then the entire island started to shake, throwing Akainu off balance and causing his magma fist to destroy several houses, and completely miss the three brats that had started this mess. It was then he was sent flying into several more houses by a kick. "Why don't you pick on someone your own size, Yoi?" yelled Marco, his phoenix form receding as he stared down the admiral. "Seeing as you're here, I take it the island shaking is his handiwork," spoke Akainu as he stood up and brushed some dust off his shoulders. "You'd be correct," replied Marco before whispering to Luna, "Take Luffy and Ace and run for it. There's no chance I can take him and protect you three at the same time, Yoi." And Luna did just that, running though the chaotic streets as marines and pirates clashed alike. "I see them," yelled Izo as he sniped several marines that had attempted to sneak up on his siblings. "Vista, you're up," yelled Thatch as he lazily knocked back several marines, clearing a path for Vista, who soon reached the three kids who were surrounded by dozens of marines. He quickly joined the fray, breaking the marines' circle formation along with Luffy, Luna and Ace. It wasn't long before they were behind the commanders where Whitebeard was commanding the battle. "Seeing as you three are here and Marco is not, I take it he is battling the admiral." "Yep, I can take you right to him," said Luna. "Jozu, you're in charge. Make sure to hold them here," yelled Whitebeard before he vanished with Luna. "It seems like I'm going to have to teach you a lesson, Magma Brat," said Whitebeard as he appeared. Akainu silently cursed to himself. He was pushing Marco back and would have been able to kill him if the meddling old geezer hadn't arrived. Speaking of which, how did Whitebeard get here so quickly? That's when his eyes landed on the girl he had previously engaged before Marco had shown up. He had assumed she had eaten some kind of devil fruit that allowed her to teleport, considering that she kept vanishing and reappearing where her brothers were, and teleporting them out of danger. It was why the three brats had managed to survive so long against him. His train of thought was broken when Whitebeard began to speak. "Marco, take Luna and go help your brothers deal with the remaining marines. I won't be long here." Marco nodded before grabbing Luna's hand and vanishing. "Jozu, what's going on?" asked Marco. "The marines are practically broken. They're fleeing into the jungle." It was just then the walls surrounding the city broke into pieces as Akainu flew through it before bouncing along the ground before skidding to a stop. Akainu shakily got to his feet, his fists turning to magma as Whitebeard slowly walked towards him. "Surrender, you can't beat me. Your forces have fled or lay dying in the field. You yourself are injured and outnumbered." Akainu responded instantly, "Die, pirate S," he yelled, throwing his fist forward. "Young fool," were the last words he heard before a second quake hit him, shattering the bones in his body, and darkness soon claimed him. "Let's go," sighed Pops before turning around and heading towards the Moby with his sons and daughters. Goat Kingdom attacked. Goat Kingdom has been all but destroyed, its beautiful city in ruins after the Whitebeard pirates attacked it. Our brave marines defended it, but they were no match for the Emperor and his crew. Not even Admiral Akainu could stop the brutality of this attack. Our brave admiral was found unconscious and terribly injured, and was rushed to hospital. Furthermore, after searching the city for survivors, the world noble Saint Jarmok was found terrified but unharmed. After he calmed down, we interviewed him for details. According to Saint Jarmok, this all started when three kids attempted to take his life, forcing Admiral Akainu to engage them. It was shortly after this that the island started to experience earthquakes, which signaled the arrival of Whitebeard and his crew, who quickly overpowered the marines. However, according to some Marnies, the three kids were seen being rescued and protected by the Whitebeard pirates. That's right, folks, it looks like the rumors are true of Whitebeard taking in two kids, though it seems that there was a slight mix-up with the numbers. Regardless, all three have been given a 50 million berry bounty. I think the reason is quite obvious as to why, and as for you concerned citizens, the Whitebeard pirates were last seen heading straight for the Grand Line. "Well, they know now," said Marco as he finished reading. Author's note: the rest of this chapter is some members singing songs on music night, and isn't that important, you have been warned. Will you stop being a worrywart and just enjoy music night? spoke Thatch as a small circle formed consisting of Whitebeard, Luffy, Luna, Ace, Sabo, Marco and Thatch. "I'll start," spoke Whitebeard as he took the mic. "Oh, the power to be strong and the wisdom to be wise. All these things will come to you in time on this journey that you're making." "I love this song," sighed Marco as he sat back and closed his eyes while listening to Pooh, whispered Thatch. It wasn't long before Pops finished his song, followed by applause of the group before passing the mic to Luffy. "Tell everybody I'm on my way, new friends and new places to see. With blue skies ahead, yes, I'm on my way and there's nowhere else that I'd rather be. This one's a good one," whispered Pops as he listened to his youngest son singing. A few minutes later Luffy had finished his song and passed the mic to Luna. We are natural ordinary fam Miley, but we can all agree that we are close as close can be. So it don't matter what it looks like, we look perfect to me. We got every kinda love, I feel so lucky indeed. This is a good one," were the general commits flying about as Luna continued her song, but like the others she soon finished before passing it to Ace. "Here I am, this is me, there's nowhere else on earth I'd rather be. Here I am, just me and you, tonight we make our dreams come true. It's a new world, it's a new start," like the others Ace soon finished before passing the mic to Sabo. "Whatever you do, I'll do it to show me everything, tell me how. It all means something and yet nothing to me, I can see there's so much to learn, it's all so close and yet so far." Once finished, Sabo passed the mic to Marco. "There are things in life you learn and, oh, in time you'll see, cause out there somewhere it's all waiting. If you keep believing." Once finished, Marco passed the mic onto Thatch. "Hey brother, there's an endless road to rediscover. Hey sister, know the water's sweet but blood is thicker. Oh, if the sky comes falling down for you, there's nothing in this world I wouldn't do." Like the others, Thatch soon finished his song before getting up and placing it back in storage. Soon after returning, the group soon broke apart with Sabo being escorted back to the infirmary by Thatch while Marco made sure the twins got ready for bed. Author note: it's been ages since I've updated this story, I'll try not to leave the next update to be so long. Thanks for reading. Omake Fleet Admiral Sengoku was dancing and for joy as he had finally gotten rid of the cursed paperweight. It was then Aokiji opened the door and went wide-eyed at the dancing and singing Fleet Admiral. He slowly closed the door before running for the hills, trying in vain to banish the image of the dancing, singing Sengoku from his mind. Later Aokiji would need years of therapy to get over the dancing and singing Fleet Admiral. It was nice calm day in East Blue. Minus the fact that the Whitebeard pirates had returned 10 years later, causing tension once again amongst the people of East Blue. Unlike last time, however, they were dropping someone off. "Hey, take care of yourself, Yoi," Marco, the 1st Division commander, yelled, wishing him good luck on his journey. "Yeah, stay out of trouble, Thatch," the 3rd Division commander added. The two were Luffy's playmates and friends on board. Although, Thatch was more favorable than Marco, in Luffy's opinion, that is. "Thatch, you do realize this is my brother you're talking about, telling him to stay out of trouble like trying to teach a sea king how to be a ballet dancer," said Luna, getting a few laughs from some people. Luna had long since decided to stay on Whitebeard crew, eventually marrying Ace. "Take care, Luffy," Ace, Luffy's older brother, had said before pulling him into a bear hug. Although they were not blood brothers, they both shared an unbreakable bond of brotherhood. Luffy had made friends with the black-haired boy when visiting Dawn Island with Shanks. Luffy then turned to face Whitebeard, the captain of the notorious Whitebeard pirates. "See you, Pops," Luffy had said, "I'm setting out on my own adventure to become the Pirate King." His adoptive father, who Luffy had considered more of a father than his biological one, had then laughed and held out a bottle of sake, a common drink of the crew. "A parting gift," Whitebeard said. Luffy opened the bottle up and took a sip before saying, "I just wish Sabo could have made it." Sabo had left at 17 like Luffy to join the Revolutionary Army. Last they heard was that Sabo was rising rapidly through the ranks as well as gaining infamy. "Well, I'm off," said Luffy, getting into his striker and powering it up. Unlike Ace's small one-man striker, Luffy's could take 4 to 6 people quite comfortably. It didn't take long for Luffy to run into trouble as he violently swerved his small ship to avoid a giant whirlpool that appeared out of nowhere. "Shit!" cursed Luffy. His violent swerve had caused several of his supplies to go overboard. "Now I'm going to have to find a ship or an island," thought Luffy. As he reached out with his observation hockey, its enormous range picking up most if not all of East Blue. Sighing, he began to focus on the closet signal before changing course and heading in that direction. "Thanks for picking me up," spoke Luffy as he happily munched on an apple. "No problem, as a fellow sailors we have to help each other out when we can. Unfortunately we can't spare any supplies, but the captain is willing to let you stay till we make port and you can resupply there, provided you pitch in and help with the sailing." "No problem," said Luffy. It was just then another member of this crew rushed in. "Pirates are attacking," he yelled. Immediately the sailors rushed back up to the deck. "What's the big deal? They're just small fry," thought Luffy as he munched down on another apple. "Hello, is anyone here?" asked Kobe. "That's a redundant question, isn't it?" answered Luffy. "So are you one of the pirates?" asked Luffy. Yes, but it's a bit of a long story," said Kobe. "I see," replied Luffy. "Kobe," someone addressed. "You're not trying to pass up the action, are you?" the hostile pirate spat out. No, Kobe denied, his pink hair flying. "I was." "Oi, you there, turn out your pockets," one of the pirates yelled, spotting Luffy. "Why?" asked Luffy, who was playing dumb. "So he can take all your valuables, moron," spoke one of the three pirates. "Do I get an option too?" spoke Luffy. "Fine, we'll take it from your corpse," spoke the pirate in the middle while swinging his sword. There was a loud clang as Luffy's own weapon blocked the attack mid-swing between a crescent blade. It looked to be a spear with two crescent blades attached to both sides of the spear tip, with his opponent's blade trapped between the tip and the crescent blade on the side. The entire weapon itself was about 2 meters in length. Luffy quickly channeled a small bout of lighting down the weapon and into his opponent's sword, shocking him unconscious. Author note: the weapon Luffy is using is a ji or dagger axe. It's an ancient Chinese weapon with a few variants. The one Luffy is using, however, is a Fangtian ji according to Wikipedia. "Now is there anyone else that would like to try me?" asked Luffy, while swinging his ji, threatening, causing the two pirates to grab their comrade and bolt from the room. "Surely Alvida could defeat this boy. Is all of East Blue going to be this weak? God, it's going to be boring," complained Luffy, while placing his ji onto his back. "Now to get some more food," said Luffy. Kobe stared back at the scene in shock. His eyes widened behind his large glasses. "So, what's your name?" Kobe asked. "I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm the man who's going to become king of the pirates," Luffy stated. "No way, that's impossible," Kobe countered, as he started ranting about how it couldn't be done until Luffy hit him. "Why did you hit me?" Kobe whined. "'Cause I felt like it," Luffy said bluntly as he continued munching eating. "Besides, it's my dream. If I die for it, then that's fine by me. I won't know if I will succeed until I try." "I would like to be a Marine," Kobe said. "That's my dream." "Then why don't you join?" Luffy questioned with interest. Kobe looked startled and kind of mortified. "Because I am deathly afraid of Alvida," Kobe shivered at the thought. "You're a crybaby and a coward. I don't like you," Luffy said in between bites, remaining very blunt. Kobe countered by saying, "Yeah, well, you know what? When first become a Marine, I'm going to catch pirates, and I'll start with Alvida." "Who are you going to catch, Kobe?" Alvida said as she smashed through the wooden door with her iron mace, appearing in front of both Luffy and Kobe. "Hey Kobe, who's that fat hag?" Luffy asked. A tick mark bulged on Alvida's forehead as she felt the rage building up inside her, making the chubby woman seem to be on fire. Her crew and Kobe stood gawking in utter shock that this boy has just insulted Pirate Captain Alvida. Doesn't he know who he's dealing with, they thought. Using the gaping crew members and a fuming Alvida as a distraction, Luffy grabbed Kobe and, punching a hole through the ceiling of the ship, disappeared through it. "Kill them!" shouted a clearly pissed Alvida. Her crew, upon hearing their captain, frantically rushed to get to the upper deck of the ship to attack the troublemaking duo. When Alvida's crew got onto the deck, they charged towards a visible Luffy. "Kobe, just sit back and enjoy the show," Luffy said with a large smile as he closed his eyes and held his hands behind his back. He dodged the incoming wave of swords without moving from his position. The crew panted and hissed in anger. "Don't get cocky," they yelled at Luffy, who was standing on the deck, with his eyes closed. Luffy only smiled before quickly pulling out his ji before channeling lightning into Surge. Lightning bolts flew in all directions, some narrowing, missing Kobe. Within a few seconds all the attacking pirates had been put down with serval spazzing on the ground and smoking from electrical burns. As Alvida came onto the deck she stared in shock. There, standing unharmed, was Luffy, with her crew laying on the ground, presumably unconscious or dead. "Don't worry about your crew, Alvida," Luffy said, smirking as he brought his knuckles together and cracked his right knuckle. "I only rendered them unconscious. They should be fine in a couple of hours." However, Luffy continued, swing his G as he got into a stance. "Now it's your turn, Sea Hag Alvida. You aren't seriously going to fight Alvida, are you? Of all the pirates in the East Blue?" Kobe stopped, thinking over his words carefully, thinking about what Luffy had said earlier about dying for your dream. "I am what Kobe," Alvida said, smirking. "She's the most ugliest woman on the seas," Kobe said with anger. Anger of Alvida keeping him as her servant for 2 years, forcing him to say she was the most beautiful woman. Oh, it definitely wasn't true. Luffy burst out laughing as Alvida's rage boiled to the breaking point. She swung her spiked club at Kobe, determined to silence him once and for all. Luffy appeared in front of him and said, "Armament." Luffy's G turned a shiny black, which shattered the iron club upon impact. Alvida yelped in shock. Luffy raised his hand and smiling, he said, "I'll be seeing you around, Alvida. That is, if you have good buoyancy." Before Alvida could interpret the meaning of Luffy's message, however, he used a reverse thrust infused with armament hockey, hitting her square in the gut, which sent Alvida flying until she was just a speck in the sky. "Man, that was boring," Luffy pouted. "They weren't even a warm-up." As Luffy kept complaining about the crappy battle he was in, a battleship appeared on the ocean's horizon. "The Marines," Kobe said in awe. "Well, that's my cue to leave," Luffy said, knowing if the Marines saw one of Whitebeard's sons here in East Blue, the world government headquarters would definitely try to stop him from getting back to the Grand Line. "Get me some supplies," Luffy ordered before, remembering that he had rendered all of the Alvida pirates unconscious. Muttered, "Never mind," before launching back below deck before pilling as much food as he could into a barrel, before appearing back on deck as he jumped off the side of the ship with Kobe in his arms and barrel safely tucked into his other arm. As he landed in his striker, however, there was already a woman with orange hair in said ship. "How the hell does this thing work?" she yelled in frustration, not noticing the 2 extra passengers. "Excuses me, miss," Luffy politely said. Remembering the lessons on manners Thatch had made sure to drill into his skull for a countless number of hours, "Could you please tell me what you are doing on my ship?" "Your ship? How the hell does this piece of shit even sail? I've tried everything except for rowing," screamed Nami in frustration. "Like this," said Luffy before placing his hand on one of the pipes and sending a bolt of lightning, though it causing the engine to start and the ship to move forward. "There's no way that should cause the ship to start moving," yelled Nami. "You're right. If anyone else tried that, nothing would happen. This ship is powered by my lightning devil fruit. In other words, I'm the only one who get it moving once it stops. After that anyone else can control it." "Yeah right, there's no way devil fruits are real," said a skeptic Nami. "Believe what you will, miss," spoke Luffy. Suddenly he pulled out his G and thrust dead forward. Nami immediately ducked, however she was not the intended target as the spear had impaled the incoming cannonball. "Blasted Marines," muttered Luffy, before shaking the cannonball off his G. "I suggest you stand back, miss," before his G started to glow bright blue as a thick smell of ozone filled the air. Several sparks shot out of the G and still it continued. By now his weapon was glowing bright red. It was then that he thrusted towards the marine ship. Lightning shot. A massive bolt of lightning shot out of the G, leaving a trail of steam as it raced towards the marine ship. The sheer size of this bolt reached the deck of the marine ship. Upon contact, there was explosion of extremely bright light, forcing Nami and Kobe to look away. Within a few seconds the entire spectral was over. What remained was a flaming ship that quickly sunk beneath the sea. Who is he? The woman, whose name was Nami, thought to herself. She had never seen a person effortlessly destroy a ship like that. "Are you all right?" Luffy questioned in concern. He grasped her hand and kissed it. "I hope I didn't scare you during my display of force, miss." "Nami," she said, smiling. She didn't expect this boy to have such good manners. "Ah, Nami. A beautiful name if you ask me," he said, smiling as a small blush appeared on Nami's face and she replied, Thank you. But of course, madam. I cannot stand anyone, either they be marine or pirate, from firing at a lady, especially an unarmed one. A tick mark appeared on Nami's head and he punched him over the head and yelled, "I'm not thanking you for that." "Then what would you be thanking me for?" Luffy asked, scratching his head in confusion. Nami's sweat dropped. How could this boy who she thought was so nice and polite when she first met him be so idiotic? "I'm thanking you for complimenting me, moron," Nami yelled. "But why thank me, after all? I'm only speaking the truth," Luffy replied. Immediately after saying this, Nami's anger turned to another small blush. Maybe I was wrong to dub him as an idiot, Nami thought sheepishly. "Oh my word, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm a pirate." Nami stiffened and punched him, though the only thing her punch hit was Luffy's hand. Which only was because he caught it. Now, Miss Nami, there's no need to get violent. I can tell by your reaction that you have had a terrible experience with pirates and have since dubbed them horrible and evil. Luffy said calmly as Nami's eyes widened considerably. How did he know so much about her judging by her reaction? Simple logic: due to your reaction most would not try and defend themselves unless being attacked by said pirate, Luffy said. There's no need to fear me. I have no intention of harming you or anyone else without just cause, spoke Luffy. And what about the Marines? I'm pretty sure that wasn't just cause, reasoned Nami. Of course it was. They deliberately fired upon my ship. I simply returned fire, said Luffy. And what if it was a stray shot? Reasoned Nami. Use your head, girl. We're well away from the pirate's ship, thus any shot towards this vessel is deliberate attack. Yeah, well, what if they thought we were fleeing pirates? She continued to reason. Then they are required to ask for our surrender first before opening fire, as they did no such thing. I was well within my rights to retaliate with equal force, reasoned Luffy. How the hell is that considered equal force? Yelled Nami. Just what do you think a cannonball would do to this vessel? Asked Luffy. Nami's eyes widened. It would most likely cause it to sink, she muttered. Which is why I sunk their own ship, equal to amount of damage their cannonball would have caused had it hit, spoke Luffy. But it didn't, said Nami, getting her fire back. That doesn't matter, it's the fact that they attempted it in the first place. What idiot fires on a ship and not expect retaliation? Reasoned Luffy. Yeah, but you didn't need to do that. Those Marines didn't stand a chance. How many of them did you just kill? Plus they would have picked us up afterwards, argued Nami. Yeah, and by the time they got here I would have drowned, seeing as devil fruit users can't swim, and by the time you and Kobe realized that fact, I would have been too far down for either of you to rescue me. Look, sighed Luffy. We can keep argue about this. But it's obvious we're not going to agree, so how about we just agree to disagree? Fine, sighed Nami. Maybe he does have a point though, thought Nami. Okay, then let's head to Shell's town. I'll betray him to the Marines. Then talk them into giving me a reward and buy Kokoyashi village back from Arlong, Nami thought. You think the Marines can stop me? Luffy questioned in humor. Nami panicked. Did he just read my mind? Nope, I can read your emotions with my haki? Haki? Asked Nami. There are 3 forms of haki, however let's focus on observation, which allows one to sense auras and emotions, I guess. Some people are easy to read and some are damn near impossible. However, with enough training anyone can be read. To give you an idea on how strong mine is, I can pick up most if not all of East Blue, if I focus. That's amazing, spoke Kobe. Yeah right, like that power actually exists. I can prove it, spoke Luffy. Alright, prove it, said a skeptical Nami. Luffy closed his eyes, sharpening his forces before speaking. In Shell's town, there's a marine base run by a marine captain that's incredibly the people like a dictator. His son uses his father's status to get anything he wants from the people, and even some of the Marines stationed there. Someone appears to have stood up to the captain's son, and is now tied to a post. From what I feel, this guy hasn't had any food or water for days. The weird thing is this guy's aura is crazy strong. He's likely the 3rd or 4th strongest person within East Blue, excluding myself. So then where are the others? Asked Nami, still not really believing Luffy. One of them is in a marine base at Logue Town. 2 of them appear to be in a restaurant from the general feel of the area, and the other one appears to be on Konami Islands, though it's really hard to tell due to the distance, as there's auras that are harder to pick up the further away they are. Nami's eyes widened completely in shock, as Arlong location was not known to anyone save people from her home island. due to Arlong bribing a Marine captain to suppress and stop information from reaching the higher-ups within the Marines. So how the hell did Luffy know where he was? Although there was no way he knew it was Arlong. But who else could be on Konami Islands that would be that strong? While I'm taking a nap, I think I might recruit that guy in Shell's Town if I like him, said Luffy before nodding off. Nami didn't really know what to feel at the moment. Here she was, giving a ride to a pirate. The one thing she hated the most. Now, don't get the wrong idea. She had thought about throwing the young pirate overboard while he slept and be done with the whole ordeal. But she didn't. She couldn't, as he was necessary to keep the ship moving, and she had no desire to be stranded. Thank you very much. Oi Luffy, wake up, yelled Nami. We're arriving at Shell's Town. Okay, I'm up, said Luffy, opening his eyes. By the way, you see that lever, switch it to slow. Nami did so as instructed. Soon after, the ship reduced to very slow speed. Once we need to stop, switch the lever to off, said Luffy. Nami nodded as she concentrated on getting the ship to the port. Soon it wasn't long before the ship came to a stop beside the docks. Well, it's been nice knowing you too. See ya. As she walked down the docks and into town, Luffy stared at her ass, before shaking his head and doing the same. Now to find the guy tied to the post. All around them, within the little market, everyone jumped. What? Why do you want to find him? Kobe questioned. I want him on my crew because he seems like a strong guy, Luffy said as the duo walked towards a large gray tower. The Marine base was surrounded by a cobblestone wall, and a little girl was climbing over it with a small wooden ladder. Beat it, kid, the gruff prisoner said. The green-haired man was tied to a pole in the hot sun. That's Rarinora Zoro, said Kobe. Zoro did not want this girl to get hurt, and although she was helping him, if someone caught her, he'd rather not think about it. I said get lost, kid. Now, Zoro, no one likes a bully, a young blonde man tusked as he approached. He was the selfish Helmeppo, Captain Morgan's son. He took the rice balls the young intended to give to Zoro. Those aren't for you, the girl cried bravely. Suddenly Helmeppo and the Marines collapsed into unconsciousness, and Zoro was confused. Yet, he felt a spike of pressure and felt it coming from the side. He looked over and saw a man with a straw hat on his head walking over to him. Hey Zoro, join my crew, Luffy demanded. Why should I? Zoro asked. Because you're the strong, probably one of the strongest in East Blue, Luffy replied. Zoro thought for a moment. What the hell, sounds like fun. I'm in, but you have to wait 10 days for the bet to end. Zoro glanced at Helmeppo, whom was still unconscious. Fine, but if he breaks his word, I'm busting you out, Luffy firmly said. Luffy sensed that Kobe and the girl had left. Using Haki, he found them heading for a bar and decided that it would be quite enjoyable to play a prank on them. He vanished and then appeared inside the bar. Luffy, how did you get here so fast? Kobe questioned when he saw Luffy waving to them over from the counter, ordering a bottle of sake. Nami observed the straw hat-wearing pirate quietly as she planned out how to sneak into the Marine base. Luffy had suddenly appeared in the bar a few minutes ago and surprised Nami, though she was certain he did not sneak in. Stealth was her specialty after all. She sighed as she continued observing the young pirate. Soon after, Helmeppo arrived and decided that he was going to eat for free. Apparently he had woken up, due to the fact he was standing right in front of them. I'm bored. I think I'll execute Roronoa Zoro tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Luffy punched Helmeppo square in the face, sending him through the wall and into the street. That is no reason to kill someone, Luffy roared. You hit me, I'll have my father kill you, Helmeppo yelled, clutching his face in pain. Do you think he can kill me? He said as he unleashed his Conqueror's Haki, causing everyone around him to pass out. Nami broke out in a cold sweat as she was forced to the ground. Well, what is SSS this? It feels like I'm about to pass out, she thought, and just as it came it disappeared. Still, Nami remained on the ground as she regained her breath before standing, her eyes widened as saw everyone around her was out cold. You again, Zoro said. He was still tied to the pole, but now Luffy was back. Helmeppo is going to execute you tomorrow, so I'm here to untie you. Wait, Zoro exclaimed. Get my swords first. That stupid Helmeppo took them as a trophy. This angered Luffy even more as he understood the values of a sword, after he threw Thatch's swords overboard as a prank, one that ended with a harsh punishment. Luffy raced through the Marine base, slashing 2 guards with his G. He continued, not bothering to use even the slightest bit of effort. He only stopped when he saw Nami attempting to break into a room. "Allow me, Nami." Lightning bolt. The bolt blasted the door off its hinges. Thanks," Nami said sheepishly. Why did he help her? He was a pirate, for God's sakes, yet, he still helped her. "No problem," Luffy said before running further down the hall, leaving Nami to collect her thoughts. After a few moments Nami shook her head violently. No matter how strong he appears, Arlong is stronger, she reasoned in her head. Upon finding Zoro's swords, which were located in that brat Helmeppo's room, he sensed that the Marines were lining up to execute Zoro. Luffy also sensed the little girl, Rika, and Kobe down in the courtyard with Zoro. Luffy vanished and reappeared, slashing Zoro's binds with his G. What the? A large tall man with an axe looked on in shock. He had just ordered all of his men to shoot and the bullets missed their targets. "Just who the hell are you, boy?" Morgan yelled as he had not seen Luffy free Zoro from his binds. "These are yours, right?" Luffy asked, completely ignoring Captain Morgan as showed the swords to Zoro. Zoro nodded as he grabbed the 3 katanas them and stopped the charging Marines with a vicious glare, saying, "Move and you will die." "Zoro, duck!" Luffy yelled. Zoro obliged his new captain and ducked as Luffy yelled out, "Lightning fist," giving several Marines severe burns. "An Akuma no Mi user," the Marines yelled, eyes widened in disbelief. "Those things actually exist. We can't kill these guys, Captain Morgan, they're just too strong. We can't even take on Roronoa Zoro, and he's half dead." "This is a direct order. Any that just sprouted weakness, shoot yourself," Morgan yelled. Luffy sighed as he released a wave of Haoshoku Haki, knocking out everybody except Captain Morgan. Luffy then held up his hand and mumbled, "Zeus's judgment," as he swung his hand down. A massive bolt of lightning struck Captain Morgan from the sky, rendering him unconscious and created a 10-meter, 30 feet, crater in its wake. The Marines soon afterward started to woke up and cheered for the defeat of their corrupt Marine captain as the 2 pirates slithered off. "How could you eat and drink more than someone who hasn't eaten anything in 20 days? Zoro questioned. "Back in the bar." Luffy was gobbling everything on the table. "Because it's tasty," Luffy reasoned. The Marines then came swarming into the bar. "Is it true that you are pirates?" asked a Marine as he stood at attention. Luffy nodded and said, "That we are. What, are you going to try and capture us now?" "Of course not, we wouldn't stand a chance against you," the Marine admitted sadly. "Yes, that indeed is true," replied Luffy, laughing wholeheartedly at the embarrassed Marines. "I'm the new commander, Lieutenant Ripper, and as thanks for getting rid of Captain Morgan for us, we won't report you to headquarters. However, I am going to have to ask you to leave." "Understood. Oh, and if you find a girl called Nami on the island, could you provide her with a ship, just a small one?" Luffy said. "Very well, we will provide her with a small ship if we find her," Lieutenant Ripper replied immediately. Luffy and Zoro headed out. Kobe stood still, fretting. The Marine noticed him. "Isn't he part of the crew?" "Nope, don't even know him." Luffy remained calm with an emotionless face. They duo set out to sea, watching a group of Marines saluting them. "So what was that thing you did?" Zoro questioned in curiosity. "I told you, I ate a Guro no Mi, I'm a lightning man," Luffy repeated. "Not that. When you looked at the Marines and they passed out." "Oh that, she. I'll explain that later, Zoro," Luffy said quietly. "It's not for the people in East Blue to hear." Author's notes. Finally, I think this is the longest chapter yet. Anyone feel free to leave a review. Also, here's a video link to what Luffy's G looks like since I didn't do a very good description of it. Watch. V equals he Ms Ohm QYW8. "Omake. Untie me, damn it," yelled Marco, who was tied to the mast. Now Marco, we can't have you following Luffy and ruining his adventure. We all knew this day was coming and he very well can't have you babysitting him. He's old enough to take care of himself, and we don't need you ruining his adventures or intimidating his enemies," spoke Thatch as he spoon-fed Marco. "Oh alright, now will you untie me?" said Marco. "No Bekwase, I don't trust you," spoke Thatch as he allowed Marco a drink of water. That night Marco burned out of the ropes using his Phoenix powers. The next morning newspaper. Marco the Phoenix quits Whiteboard's crew to join Rookie Pirate in East Blue. Said pirate has been seen wearing a straw hat. As such, the Marines have seen fit to give said pirate a bounty of 5 billion. Thatch promptly spat out his morning tea. You do know you're going to lose it again, right? Zoro commented after Luffy had finished explaining the importance of his straw hat to him. Luffy then declared he was hungry. How are we going to fish? We have no rod, Zoro commented. Easy, Luffy said as he stuck his hand into the water and yelled, 100 million volt shock. Dead fish began to rise to the surface. Luffy grasped one as Zoro looked at the fish sourly and said, don't we need to cook it first? No need, my lightning's hot enough to well turly cook it all the way though, said Luffy as he handed Zoro a fish. Luffy put his hand back into the water and said, restrike, which sent 8 bolts of yellow lightning in different directions. Luffy felt 4 of the original 8 bolts return and, realizing the direction the boat was heading, Luffy sat back and munched on the cooked fish that was in his hands. An island soon came within sight of the duo, to which Luffy then said, I'll leave you to dock the boat, Zoro. Just make sure to turn the lever to slow and then stop once you reach the docks. Luffy said before yelling, restrike, causing him to vanish and reappeared on the island in front of a familiar orange-haired girl. What the hell? Nami screamed as she recognized Luffy as the pirate from before. Oh, hello Nami, it's good to see you again, Luffy said calmly, giving her a large grin as she stared at him in shock. Nami, having thought of a way to get rid of the pirates chasing her, said, oh, hey boss, thank you for rescuing me. She then turned and ran away down the small street. She's getting away, a pirate yelled, doesn't matter, we have her boss. Luffy sighed as he used a small amount of Haoshoku no Haki, knocking the 3 anonymous and annoying pirates unconscious. Nami couldn't move as she felt the same force from Shell's town pressing down on her, though not as powerful. She managed to turn to see Luffy walking towards her. Nami, trying to calm her nerves, attempted to take a small step but instead ended up lurching forward, only to wind up knocking into Luffy, which sent both of them tumbling to the ground. Nami, Luffy said after a few seconds, gaining Nami's attention, don't you think it's a bit inappropriate to be straddling someone whom you had met only hours ago? Nami looked down and, sure enough, she was straddling the young pirate's waist. Nami screamed as she jumped off of Luffy, her entire face blushing a bright crimson red. Luffy stood up and after brushing himself off, said, Nami, you don't need to be weary of me just because I'm a pirate. If I were truly as evil as you seem to believe, I would have killed you when we parted ways earlier for stealing my wallet, which I would like back, if you don't mind. Luffy smiled warmly and held out his hand, waiting for the orange-haired woman to deposit his wallet into the open palm. Nami's eyes widened as she kept thinking, he let me steal his wallet, why? After a few moments of silence, Nami was finally able to mostly compose herself and stuttered, I'm sorry. You're sorry? I wonder what you would be sorry about, Luffy said as he scratched his head for a few moments before stopping and smiling slyly at Nami. You wouldn't have happened to lose my wallet now, Nami gasped, trying to figure out how he knew that she had lost his belly-filled wallet. Luffy sighed and said, it's fine, Nami, I forgive you. Luffy's answer to her losing his wallet caused Nami to gasp again. How can he not be mad after losing 1 million belly, she thought, her eyes growing wide. I would be furious if someone lost my money, but he just flat out forgives me like me losing his wallet was nothing important. Nami, Luffy said, seeing the young woman staring off into the distance, Nami. Well, Luffy shouting at her snapped Nami out of her thoughts, at which she yelled, you can't be a real pirate. Now Nami, why do you say that? Luffy asked, genuinely curious. You just forgave me for losing 1 million belly. Everyone knows that all pirates are money-loving villains who would kill anyone who stole from them. Nami, do you where I can get some food at? Luffy asked the orange-haired woman, totally ignoring her reasoning as to why he wasn't a real pirate. Sure. Right this way, she stuttered, taken totally by surprise at the change of topic. Nami started walking before she saw Luffy bow to her and say, thank you, Nami. She began to blush a small shade of crimson. Nami liked the feeling when the young pirate called her by only her first name and didn't use an honorific around her. Again, there was a warm sensation within her heart of which Nami had no definition, although she knew it was linked to the young pirate, for it only showed up whenever she was close to him. I can't let him get close, Nami thought as she led the young pirate to a house where she knew there was food. Luffy and Zoro sat at the table with 5 bottles of sake each. "Now Nami, why were those pirates chasing you?" asked Luffy. "They were after this chart I stole," she answered, showing them the chart for the entrance to the Grand Line. "Why would you want a map of the Grand Line, Nami?" questioned Luffy as he took a swig of sake. "I'm going there to steal 10 million berries from the pirates there," answered Nami proudly. "Now Nami, why would you need 10 million berries?" Luffy asked. Zoro watched in curiosity as a light pink blush appeared on Nami's face. "That's none of your business, pirate," she yelled in reply to Luffy's question. Fine, I'm not going to push the subject, since I can tell that it's a very touchy one. You'll tell me when you're ready." Luffy replied as he took another swig from his second bottle of sake, while Zoro watched as the blush on the orange-haired face darkened a tad. "However, Miss Nami, I'm going to have to be frank with you. You wouldn't last a single day in paradise," Luffy said solemnly. "What's paradise?" asked Zoro and Nami. "Paradise is what people that have sailed in the New World call the first half of the Grand Line. New World is the second half," explained Luffy. "Furthermore, do you even know how to navigate the Grand Line? Isn't it like every other ocean, a compass and a map?" asked Nami. "The Grand Line doesn't follow logic. Its magnetic fields will make that compass a piece of shit. Its weather patterns defy common sense. Calm one second then bloody cyclones the next, and they are almost impossible to predict. You wouldn't even be able to touch paradise, let alone as someone who's experienced the New World," Luffy calmly explained to a flummoxed group. "How do you know so much about the Grand Line?" asked Zoro. He hadn't paid attention to Luffy's story except for the part about the Straw Hat being important to him. "I was raised from birth on Whitebeard's ship," answered Luffy. "Whitebeard, yeah right, as if the world's most notorious pirates would ever raise a kid," said Nami. "Believe what you will, it doesn't change the truth," replied Luffy. "Beside, you're not ready for the Grand Line. You can't tell me what to do, pirate," Nami snapped. Right after she had said this though, she felt the same menacing aura as before and noticed the young pirate's concentrated face. "He's doing this, but how? He's not even moving," Nami thought as she struggled to remain conscious. "This is what you may experience on the Grand Line," Luffy said, talking like a mentor. "Take my advice, give up on going to the Grand Line," said Luffy. "This is the exact same aura I felt earlier, just like the marine base, but it's a constant wave rather than a spike," Zoro thought. "Let's go," said Luffy, letting up his haki as he got up from the table. Zoro sculled his last bottle and followed suit. Nami came around to see 10 empty sake bottles and Luffy and Zoro walking out the door. "Wait, hold on," she said. Luffy smiled knowing what was coming next. "Could I join your crew?" she asked. "That depends. Why would someone who despises pirates with her very soul want to join a pirate crew?" asked a smiling Luffy. "Well, you need a navigator, right? I'm the bever meat," replied Nami. "Nami," Luffy said, his face contorting into a serious expression, "I deny your request." "What? Why?" Nami yelled at him. "I thought you needed a navigator." "We do need a navigator, Nami. However, I feel as though you are not ready to join my crew. Tell you what, I will ask you a question and if you are able to answer it correctly you can join my crew," Luffy said, the grin now back onto his face. "What?" Nami yelled, surprised at what Luffy had just said. After a moment she smiled. If this was all he was asking of her, then this was going to be easy. "You have a deal," Nami said happily as she and Luffy shook hands. "Nami, if you wish to join my crew then you must answer me this. What is more important to me than gold and silver?" What kind of question is that?" Nami yelled as she punched Luffy in the face. She. What, did you really think I would make this easy on you?" Luffy asked as he gave Nami another one of his trademark grins. She sweat dropped. "Of course not." "Of course, Nami. Since you cannot possibly answer my question at this time, would you like to have a temporary partnership?" Luffy asked quizzingly, holding out his hand towards Nami before flashing a grin and said, "Of course, you'll be keeping all of the treasure that we gather." Nami's eyes immediately turned into belly signs and she grabbed Luffy's outstretched hand and shook it violently. "You've got yourself a deal," Nami yelled, at which Luffy smiled warmly at her. "Well then, welcome aboard, my lady," he said, kissing the top of Nami's hand lightly, causing Nami to blink in shock, registering what had just happened while she was in her fantasy world of money. Of course, after Nami figured out what had happened, she blushed. Why was a pirate able to make her feel like this? There was a battle within Nami's mind between her heart and her mind. Nami's mind was telling her that she should hate and resent this teenager named Luffy for just being a pirate, that he was like all the rest of them, taking whatever they wanted, not caring about anyone else except themselves. Yet, her heart was telling her that she should be trusting Luffy, that this pirate was different than the ones she has experienced so far. Boom! A cannon fired from the top of a distant building, sending a red cannonball with a clown face painted on it soaring towards Luffy, Zoro and Nami. Unsheathing his G, Luffy impaled the cannonball on the tip much like before. "So what do we do now, Captain?" asked a currently relaxing Zoro. He had one of his eyes open to look at his captain and had the other closed. "Simple, we're going to beat the crap out of Captain Buggy," Luffy said as he cracked his knuckles. "I have to beat some manners into him for firing at our crew. By the way, speaking of the devil who sent the cannonball towards us, Nami, do you know anything about him that might be of use to us?" "No, I'm sorry Luffy, but I don't. I know where he currently is camped if you want me to lead you to him though," Nami offered. "That would be wonderful, Nami," said Luffy. "Well, there's only one thing to do in this situation." "What?" Nami and Zoro asked. Luffy then smiled and said, "Charge in recklessly." "Idiot!" Nami yelled, punching Luffy square in the face, sending him toppling to the ground. "What? How was I able to hit you?" said a shocked Nami. Seems you subconsciously used armament hockey," Luffy guessed. "What's that?" asked Nami. "It's not for the ears of people in East Blue, though I expect Buggy would know, seeing as he was a part of Gold D. Roger's crew," Luffy said, getting a shocked look from Nami. "So I'm guessing he's strong," Zoro said with a smile. Luffy only shrugged his shoulders. "Stay away from Shoo Shoo," yelled a voice as they heard a crash. Luffy ran towards it with Nami and Zoro trailing behind. "Shouldn't we run away from loud noises?" yelled Nami as she trailed after Luffy. Luffy stopped as he saw a small dog trying to defend his home from a large lion and a man with weird hair and an old man trying to protect the dog. Luffy turned into lightning and reappeared right in front of the large lion. "Hey you, boy, move out of my way," Moji the lion tamer yelled. "There is no way in hell I will move and continue to let you torment this dog," Luffy yelled back at Moji angrily. "Fine then, you little brat. If you won't move, I'll kill you," said Moji with a small smile. "Good luck killing me," retorted Luffy. "If you want to die so badly, then I'll be happy to oblige," yelled Moji as he gave orders for Richie to attack. Luffy yawned, deciding that he would let the large lion, whose name was apparently Richie, hit him. The lion swung one of his giant paws at Luffy, which went right through him. Well, this bewildered both the lion and its master, whom was sitting atop the lion. Luffy smiled as he lazily held up a hand to the now scared lion and yelled, "El Thor." A massive bolt of blue lightning shot out of Luffy's hand, traveling down the entire street before dissipating harmlessly at the end of the street. What remained was the smoking and burnt forms of Moji and Richie, who were clearly unconscious. The man who was accompanying the small dog then explained that the dog, whose name was Shushu, was guarding this store ever since his master died and that it was Shushu's treasure. He told them that his name was Broody and he was the mayor of Orangetown and said that he would fight Buggy and save his town. Luffy sighed and let loose a wave of Haoshoku haki, knocking Mayor Broody out unconscious and foaming at the mouth. Of course, Nami and Zoro weren't affected as much as Mayor Broody, due to the fact that they've built up a small resistance to Luffy's Conqueror's haki. "Luffy, why did you do that?" Nami yelled, shocked. "I didn't want him to die," Luffy simply stated. "He wouldn't be able to even touch Buggy and I don't see a point in any more lives being lost today." "Let's move," Luffy said, allowing Nami to lead the way to Buggy's tent. A little later, Buggy's base camp. "Hey Big Nose," yelled Luffy. "What did you say?" yelled an enraged Buggy. "I said Big Nose," Luffy yelled again courageously. "You've done it now, you damn brat. Flashily fire the Buggy ball," yelled Buggy as he glared at his crew, who immediately got to work on loading the cannon with a Buggy ball, not wanting to feel their captain's wrath. You two take cover, I will deal with this, Luffy said to Nami and Zoro as he turned into lightning and went to the rooftop where the buggy pirates were at. They quickly re-aimed at Luffy and fired the buggy ball from their cannon, which was located in front of Buggy's circus tent. Lightning bolt, Luffy said as he grabbed the buggy ball with his hand and melted it. As Luffy looked on at Buggy and his crew, who were scared shitless by the display, all he did was smile and say, "My turn." He gathered energy as he stretched out his arms and shot a bolt of lightning from one hand to the other, compressing it into small ball. He then threw it at the buggy pirate, who scrambled to get out of the way of the fast-approaching ball. Luffy then yelled, "Lightning storm." The small ball filled with compressed electricity then exploded, which sent lightning shooting out in all directions, killing many members of Buggy's crew as the bar buggy used as his base collapsed. Luckily for Nami and Zoro, when Luffy told them to take cover, they decided that the safest place would be away from the building, so they made their way into the building next door to the bar. Good for them, because as soon as they closed the door they heard the sound of a collapsing building. When they exited the house they were using as a shelter, they were surprised. The bar that they were previously standing in front of was now only a pile of rubble and cloth, with Luffy standing on the edge of the rubble, looking over the rubble for survivors. "You did it, Luffy," Nami exclaimed. "Nope. The bastard decided to use his own men as a shield to block my attack," said Luffy darkly. True to his word, Buggy and a unicycle appeared out of the rubble a few moments later, unharmed, hiding behind several of their men, whom were now unconscious. "This is a disgrace to the buggy pirates. You bastards," yelled Buggy as he tossed the men he was holding aside. "Captain Buggy, allow me to take care of this trash who dare defy you," said Kabaji as he went to attack Luffy with his katana, only to be intercepted by Zoro's Wado Ichimonji. "I'll clash swords with you," Zoro announced. "Who are you?" "Wait, 3 swords. You're the pirate hunter. Raranoro Zoro. Killing you will boost the buggy pirate's reputation," yelled Kabaji excitedly. "Luffy, aren't you going to help him?" Nami asked, looking over at Luffy, who was watching the battle with interest. "It's his fight, Nami," Luffy plainly responded. Nami didn't know exactly what he meant by that, but decided not to question Luffy's decision. The battle continued for a little while, with Kabaji using dirty tactics to try and win, although it never really worked as Zoro was able to deflect and defend against all of them. "Onijiri," Zoro yelled as he slashed Kabaji, which then caused the man to topple off his unicycle and fall unconscious. "Well, Big Nose, looks like it's your turn," Luffy said as he approached Buggy. Buggy's rage boiled to the breaking point as he yelled, "That's it. I will kill you all flashily, especially you, Straw Hat." "You can try," Luffy casually said as he gave a small, confident smirk. Buggy, now completely enraged, then attacked Luffy, who was able to dodge the clown's attacks fairly easily. "You're too slow, Buggy," Luffy taunted as he, yet again, dodged another attack from the enraged clown. However, one of the knives was able to stab his straw hat, as it flew into an opposing wall. "You bastard," Luffy yelled as he flared his haki. Bolts of lightning began striking the ground at random, one actually striking Luffy himself and burned his red vest to a crisp, leaving both his chest and back open for all to see. Nami froze as she was forced to the ground due to the sheer pressure she felt coming from Luffy. Buggy began to sweat in fear as he struggled to remain standing. Then Buggy saw it. There, on the boy's chest, was the mark of the Whitebeard pirates. All the color drained from Buggy's face as he stared at the mark on the boy's chest. Oh, how he was so screwed right now. Luffy removed his G from its sheath on his back and yelled, "Lightning slash." Luffy channeled both lightning and haki into the blade and slashed Buggy right across the chest, causing Buggy to collapse as blood gushed out of his wound and onto the ground. Luffy ordered Nami to gather up all of the treasure that belonged to Buggy into 2 separate bags, one of which Nami hugged with belly signs in her eyes. The 3 pirates raced to the docks after having to avoid an angry mob of villagers after Luffy had told them that they were pirates. Once they had gotten back to their boats, Zoro once again fell asleep, deciding he would ask about haki later. Zoro wasn't going to lie, he was interested in his new captain, especially his powers. "Hey Luffy," said Nami. "Yes, Nami, what happened to the treasure bag that you were carrying?" asked Nami. "Oh, that, I left it in the village," Luffy said. "You idiot, That was my money, not yours, yelled Nami as she punched him hard in the head. Sorry Nami, said Luffy, pulling her into a hug. Whatever, I suppose they needed to repay the damages that Buggy did, sighed Nami. Just don't do it again. Understood. Hey, Nami, could you check the cabin on your ship for anything I can use to cover up my chest? Luffy asked. Nami, realizing that Luffy was indeed shirtless, blushed a bright red and raced into the small cabin on her ship to look for a shirt for Luffy to wear. Hey Luffy, what was that all about? Are you two going to be a couple? Asked Zoro as he opened one of his eyes to look at his captain. You know Zoro, I felt you wake up earlier, but did you hear anything? Asked Luffy. Nope, replied Zoro, earning him a smile from Luffy. That's good, Luffy mumbled as he waited for Nami to return with cloths for him to wear. Nami came back after a while and apologized that she couldn't find any shirts or vests for Luffy to wear, but she did find a red long-sleeved cardigan, which Luffy gladly accepted, since red was his favorite color. Luffy, when he put on the red cardigan, decided to leave chest area open, since he said it looked better that way. Eventually it became night and Zoro and Luffy were the first to fall asleep. Though Nami stayed up and laid on her bed and stared at the ceiling, thinking. Oh, what was she going to do? She didn't want to be responsible for Luffy's death if she asked him to fight Arlong and he somehow ended up dying. Nami knew he was strong, but it kept popping into her head that if he fought Arlong, the fishman would find a way to kill him. She wanted him safe from that situation as she finally came to the conclusion that she, Nami, had fallen for this charming rogue of a pirate. Oh, the irony, she thought. She hated pirates, yet she was in love with one. I am such an idiot. Nami whispered quietly before closing her eyes and falling into a blissful slumber. Author's notes: important beta reader needed. If you think you have the skills or know someone interested, please let me know. Anyway, writing this was fun. Hey Nami, when will we reach the next island? An impatient Luffy questioned. Soon. Nami found herself thinking of kissing Luffy. No, I mustn't think that, she said, putting her hands on her cheeks. Think what? Luffy inquired. I was talking to myself, Nami stuttered, her face turning red. Nami, are you okay? Luffy shouted with worry. He began to slightly panic. I'm fine, really Luffy, Nami stressed. He's worried about me. Oh God, he loves me. Nami's thoughts went wild. Island, Luffy yelled, waking up Zoro. They docked the boat on the sandy shore. We're not alone, Luffy claimed as pirate flags erupted along the large cliff. I am the legendary pirate captain, Usopp, an older male with a bandana and a large nose claimed. If you think of attacking this village, my 80 million men will kill you all. Bring it on. If I run, I would shame Pops. Luffy got into his battle stance. That's a lie, Nami stated. Usopp yelled in fright. You even admitted you were lying. 80 million may be an exaggeration, but I still have a great deal of men under my command, Usopp boasted as 3 pirate flags began viciously waving. 3, Nami guessed. 3 small children yelled and raced off. Wow Nami, you're smart. Luffy commented. Nami felt her heart race. My skills with a slingshot can rival anyone with a pistol. Usopp drew out a green slingshot. What makes you think you can hit me? Luffy glared at Usopp. The poor boy snapped. Usopp's your dad, right? Luffy threw at him. The boy fell off the cliff in surprise. He questioned Luffy's knowledge. I met him when we partied with Shanks. No way, that legendary pirate Shanks? My dad really knows him? Usopp stuttered. Knows him? He was on the crew. I'll tell you once we find a place to drink. I see how it is, Usopp said. He now understood how Luffy met his dad and how proud his dad was. Anyways, do you know where we can find a ship? Nami asked. Luffy and Zoro were gulping down their mugs. Well, it's a small village, Usopp said. I don't think you'll find one. What about the people in the mansion? Surely they could help. Luffy asked, referring to the large white mansion on top of the lush green hill. Usopp quickly told them to eat and drink as much as they wanted and hastily left. What have you done with our captain? The 3 boys from earlier yelled as they entered the restaurant with wooden swords. The frantic trio looked around the room in panic. Luffy had been drinking some crimson red wine simply because he wanted to try something different and decided to dribble some from his mouth. The boys looked in horror. Ah, that was some good wine. You should try some, Zoro. What have you done with our captain? The boys repeated. Luffy gave an evil chuckle. He made his voice dark. If you're looking for your captain, we drained him of his blood. The playful captain gave a maniacal laugh. The trio screamed. Ah, cannibals! They stared at the orange-haired beauty. Nami yelled as if they accused her of being one. Luffy and Zoro laughed at their prank. After calming the trio down, Luffy explained what really happened. Why would he come here? Nami questioned the trio as they wandered aimlessly up the hill to the mansion. The captain comes here to lie. Lying isn't good, Nami frowned. No, the owner is sick, so Usopp tells stories to make her feel better. Let's ask for a ship, Luffy suggested. Nami questioned how they would get in, knock the guards out. Nami whacked him on the head. He laughed before preparing himself. Grab hold of me and don't let go. Japo. He began walking on air with 4 people clinging to him. Zoro let go early and the kids fell off in shock. Nami had her head tucked in Luffy's chest. He kicked again, slowing them down and landing slowly on the ground. Nami, you can let go now, Luffy said. Nami felt her heart race. Who are you? Kaya asked timidly. She spotted the 3 strangers in her yard. They probably came here to join the Usopp pirates. This happens to me all the time. Usopp bragged about being a top pirate and Luffy completely ignored him and addressed Kaya. Actually, I came to see you. I was wondering if you could. What's the meaning of this? Klahadore questioned. The well-groomed man gave a glare from behind his thick glasses. Klahadore, these people were just, Kaya attempted to explain. But her butler cut her off. It doesn't matter. You can tell me later. Now would you all please leave? Miss Kaya is ill and doesn't have time to be bothered by the likes of you. I believe, Miss Kaya, owns the property and as such is in charge of who comes and goes. Luffy said politely. Seeing no progress, Klahadore targeted Usopp. Oh, it's you. Usopp, the bastard son of that filthy pirate. Usopp punched him, sending Klahadore to the ground. Don't you dare insult my father. Case in point. You resort to violence when insulted. Get out. You don't have to tell me twice, Usopp mummers. Miss Kaya does not have the energy to be talking to you, Klahadore snapped. Alright, I will leave Klahadore, though if I may say you bear a striking resemblance to Kuro of the Thousand Plans. Luffy said slyly. Kuro began sweating and asked, what makes you say that, as he fought to control the panic in his voice. Well, he used to have a hobby of collecting wanted posters. Anyway, I should leave. Besides, Kuro was executed years ago, so there's no way you're him. I see. Well, I'm sure there are plenty of other people that resemble each other, replied Klahadore. His voice was again calm. I'll have to deal with this brat before he connects the dots, thought Kuro. So he is Kuro, thought Luffy. There's no way he's not with his aura screaming murder. Where is Luffy? Nami asked as she looked around. I think he went looking for that captain guy, Zoro said. Great. Nami mumbled. She wanted to make sure he didn't try to cheat her out of any more money. At least that's what she told herself. Hey, Luffy said, scaring Usopp. You ever going to see your girlfriend again? She's not my girlfriend, Usopp denied, turning bright red. Okay. But are you going to see her again? Don't know. Maybe if that butler apologizes. Usopp said. You mean that butler right there? Luffy pointed out towards Klahadore. He was discussing his plans with a weird-looking person. The two began eavesdropped. What do we do? Usopp said worriedly. They had overheard Kuro's plan to attack the village tomorrow. Simple. We wait for them to attack, then kick their asses, Luffy said bluntly. But what if we can't? I've got to warn the village. Usopp turned to leave but was stopped. Think, Usopp. You're known as the village liar. No one would believe you even though it's the truth. I'm an outsider, so I doubt they would listen to me. I see. So our only option is to fight. Luffy nodded. Now I just need to tell my crew. What are you guys good at? Asked Usopp. Zapping. Cutting. Thieving. Hiding, said Usopp. You'll be fighting, the trio yelled. How many entrances are there into the village? Asked Luffy. The north slope and the south slope, answered Usopp. I'll guard the north slope. You guys guard this one, said Luffy. I'll signal you with a lightning bolt, should they appear on the north slope, as he vanished. What the others quickly explained that Luffy ate a devil fruit. No way, those things exist, exclaimed Usopp. They spent the rest talking about their abilities. Morning soon came. I see a lightning bolt, yelled Usopp as he ran to the north slope. Meanwhile, Nami slipped on the oiled trap they had set up and grabbed Zoro, pulling him down with her. What are you doing? Let go. Zoro struggled to stop himself sliding down the slope. Thanks Zoro, Nami used him as a step ladder and followed after Usopp. Captain, there's someone up on the slope, said a pirate. Doesn't matter, just beat him. Django ordered as the pirates began to charge up the slope, only to be shot back by Usopp. It's an ambush, yelled the pirates. Captain, look what I found, crew. He was holding up a bag of treasure. It looks to be 5 million berries, he said. I see you found my loot. You can. He was cut off as Luffy hit him. Why did you hit me? He asked. That's not your treasure to give away. Besides, Nami would give you an ass whopping for giving away her treasure. Damn right I will. Nami smacked Usopp with her staff, sending him sprawling to the ground. You two can handle it, said Luffy covering his eyes with his straw hat. I'm going to take a nap. Oi Luffy, Nami said shaking him. Better hurry, they're getting closer, Luffy responded. Shit, said Usopp. He reached into his bag of tricks and handed Nami some shrunken before hurling them down the slope. Usopp took out his slingshot and began firing to hold them back. Nami, you fight any that get close, the sleeping captain said. I thought you were asleep, said Nami. A master of arms must be aware of his surroundings even when sleeping. Nami nodded as she took out her staff. Usopp was a good shot, but their numbers were too many and she fought them off as best she could. Move, yelled Luffy as an enraged Zoro appeared and swatted the entire crew back down the slope. You're that strong, Usopp gasped. Nami, you bitch, yelled Zoro. You're lucky I'm not cutting you to pieces. Django interrupted their charade. The tall sly man fixed his odd glasses. You're stronger. Your wounds will heal. What is he doing? Asked Usopp. Hypnosis. Will it work? Nami looked doubtful. Depends on his skill, replied Luffy. 1, 2, Django. The entire crew got up and displayed their new strength. We can't do it, groaned Usopp. Maybe I will help, said Luffy. Stay here. He was walking down the slope and realizing a wave of Conker's haki, knocking them unconscious. What the? Usopp stuttered. That was just like before, thought Zoro. Nami shivered at his fearsome aura even though it wasn't directed at her. I'll leave the rest to you guys, Luffy encouraged. Butchie, Sham, yelled Django. Get out here and kill these guys. The two jumped out of the ship. What? Them? They look way too strong, Sham complained. Butchie agreed. Just do it, yelled Django angrily. I'm going to cut you if you come any closer, warned Zoro. Keep your guard up, yelled Luffy. Sham launched himself at Zoro, hoping to catch him off guard, only to be blocked by his sword. He reached for the two on his waist only to find they were gone. Looking for something? Asked Sham, waving Zoro's swords. Not that I would know, he said before throwing them behind him. Give me back my swords, yelled Zoro as he cut past Sham only to be grabbed by him. Butchie went to smash his head in with a kick, however Zoro broke free and the two began an assault him with a fury of attacks. Damn, if I just had one more sword, thought Zoro. Captain Kuro, they stuttered. It's past morning. What the hell is going on? Yelled Kuro, he was furious. Well, you see, Captain, these guys are quite strong. Kuro laughed at the crew's explanations. He then walked toward Luffy and lopped his head off. There. That wasn't so hard, was it? Said Kuro as Luffy's body fell to the ground. I did not expect you guys to be this weak, Kuro snarled. Luffy, Nami cried as Kuro continued his laugh. You know, Kuro, you're pretty weak as well. Who said that? Said Kuro as he looked around for the source of the sound. You really thought you had killed me? Luffy's body got up and punched Kuro, still headless. What the hell is he? Everyone yelled as Luffy's head changed to lightning and reappeared on his shoulders. Oh me? I ate the lightning fruit. Luffy smirked, electric charges scattering over his body. Zoro seeing an opportunity, he raced past Butchie and Sham. He collected his own swords while the two were distracted. I'll give you 5 minutes, Kuro threatened. Tiger strike, Zoro slashed Sham and Butchie. Don't you dare try and sneak up on me, Kuro threatened. He turned and slashed at the person, to only hit air, made it. Luffy reappeared with Kaya. A few meters away. How did you do that? Kuro looked with confusion. My devil fruit allows me to move at the speed of lightning. He vanished. Kuro looked around and then was punched in the face. He was sent to the ground. The three brave boys raced forward and began beating Kuro with frying pans. Do you have a death wish? Luffy thought wildly. Okay, we will let you off without any more brutality this time, the kid said bravely. Kuro got up and kicked Usopp to the ground. Ouch. Django, take care of Kaya like we planned. I'll handle the boy. Yes, Captain, Django replied. He proceeded up the slope to where Kaya was. Usopp yelled at the trio to take Kaya into the woods. He was too injured to fight. Zoro, take Usopp. I will handle things from here. Luffy and Kuro began exchanging blows. Suddenly bored, Luffy questioned Kuro. How much do you wager? What's the bet? Kuro asked as he dodged a punch. If I win, join my crew, and if not, I help you kill Kaya. Luffy smirked. There was no way he was losing to someone in East Blue. Rules are the first one to lose consciousness and no killing each other's crew. What makes you think I am fit for your crew? Kuro questioned. Luffy certainly was an interesting character. Don't know. I just have a hunch. He honestly knew that Kuro was not bad. There was a good side in him. Why else would he spend 3 years with Kaya? Deal, Monkey D. Luffy. Kuro formally shook hands with Luffy. Suddenly Kuro vanished, hoping to take him by surprise. He appeared too slow, as his G slammed into Kuro's metal claws. Kuro was shocked to say the least. No one was ever able to dodge his attacks. Wait, if I use my G, I might kill you, Luffy taunted as he placed it upon his back. Don't get cocky, boy. Kuro noted before extending his claws, passing through Luffy. Kuro glared in surprise. I ate the lightning fruit. I'm a logia class. You can't touch me. I see. I have lost. Get it over with, Kuro said, embracing his doom. Lightning bolt. A bolt of lightning shocked Kuro unconscious. Oi Luffy, Zoro questioned as he emerged from the forest. He was followed by Usopp and Kaya. Why is Kuro still here? Oh yeah, he's joining the crew. Luffy claimed nonchalantly. Protests and question arose until the captain finally managed to explain his decision, which earned him a hit from Nami. You can't just gamble with people's lives, Nami hissed. Zoro sighed, claiming it was in the past. Luffy smirked at the comment. Exactly. Hey Straw Hat. What are you gonna do with us? The Kuro pirates looked at Luffy anxiously. That's up to your captain. Kuro woke, feeling a horrible headache. But he questioned why his crew was begging him to answer them. Luffy explained in full. It's up to you. If you want them to join or leave. After all, they're your men. Luffy explained. Kuro pushed up his glasses. I think it's best if I leave them. There is something I must do as well. Luffy nodded as Kuro excused himself. Kuro left to explain that he was going to join the Straw Hat crew. Kuro sighed as he joined Luffy and his crew at the bar. One thing was certain. Luffy could eat and drink a lot. What would his life be like now? Serving under someone who was a pirate. His impression on Luffy was that the boy was not a normal pirate. He was friendly with everyone and acting without a care. Kuro looked up and noticed Kaya entering the bar. Could you all please follow me? The timid girl asked. The Straw Hat crew shuffled toward the exit, following Kaya to the beach. A ship was sitting in the water, bobbing up and down on the beckoning waves. A servant of Kaya's came up to Luffy to explain the ship. He hastily pushed the servant away. Don't tell me, Nami's the navigator. The ship left immediately. Setting in the noon sun, Kaya watched on the beach as the ship vanished from view. She put her hands in her pockets and felt a jostle of crisp paper. Dear Miss Kaya, the girl read. I am sorry for any pain I have caused you. Although I knowably falling on death's ears. I hope you can remember the good times we shared, despite all the pain I may have caused you. Kaya smiled sadly at the montage of memories. Kuro feeding her when she was sick, the kind man helping pick out her outfits, and even encouraging her to get better. In P.S., she continued. I never planned your parents' death and hope you believe me. Find it in your heart to forgive me. Love, Kuro. Tears fell down Kaya's pale cheeks as she read the letter. Kuro must have slipped the letter when she was distracted. She cried in relief and sadness. Cheers to a new ship, and new crewmates, Luffy yelled. The crew slammed their mugs, sending sake spilling. Kuro smiled. Thanks for reading. If you have any questions please PM me instead of leaving a review. I don't mind and I'll try to get around to answer all questions related to the story. Questions not related will be reviewed. On another note, I found a beta but haven't received any beta ed works yet. Thanks for reading. Don't forget to leave a review. Constructive criticisms is welcome. I don't care how harsh as long as there's a legitimate reason you're calling it crap and you explain why. Once again, thanks for reading. Everyone, get out here, called Luffy as his crew emerged from different parts of the ship. What is it, Captain? It's time I told you what hockey is. Finally, said Zoro while Kuro looked puzzled. What is hockey? Rather than tell you, I think I'll show you. Luffy smiled. Nami, attack me any way you wish. The crew was shocked, thinking they hadn't heard right. Just do it. Nami drew her staff and attacked. Luffy mumbled. A strike to my legs. He skillfully dodged it moments before Nami swung. He predicted it, a shocked Usopp said. Kuro raised an eyebrow while Zoro smiled. He wondered if could learn this hockey. A strike to my head. Luffy sidestepped the blow. A strike to my back, he mumbled before doing a back flip to avoid it. How you do that? Asked Nami. She was starting to think Luffy could really beat Arlong. That is observation hockey, one of the 3 forms of hockey. It allows you to sense objects and beings that can't be seen or too far away to be seen. If strong enough, you can sense movements when they are made or even before they're made. In short, you're reading our minds, said Kuro. Luffy nodded. Hang on, but you said there are 3 forms, Usopp piped. Another form is called armament hockey. Simply put, it's like wearing invisible armor that is as strong as your willpower. If the armor is strong enough, it becomes the offensive power causing harm to the attacker. You can also use it to increase the destructiveness of your attacks, and it can practically be embedded into just about anything such as blades, staffs, arrows, pebbles, and even an entire ship if you're good enough. However, the best thing about this armament hockey is it allows you to bypass devil fruit defenses such as logia uses, such as myself. It's also a requirement for vice admirals to have both observation and armament. The final form is Conqueror's Hockey or King's Hockey. Unlike the other 2, this one can't be learned, it can only be awoken. As for what it does, well, I'll show you a demonstration. A massive pressure suddenly pushed down on them all, forcing them to the ground as they struggled to maintain conscience, and as quick as it appeared it vanished. What the hell was that? It felt like I was about to pass out, spoke Zoro. That was Conqueror's Hockey. It's basically my will against yours, since my will was stronger. That was the result. Had I kept going, you most likely would have passed out. This only works if there's a massive difference in strength between me and the ones I'm focusing it on. With that kind of power, you should be invincible. Odd Usopp. Even if you see it coming, what's the point of it if you can't do anything to stop or evade it? Zoro and Kuro pointed out. When can we start learning? Said an eager Zoro. Kuro was grinning madly at the prospect of getting stronger. Who the hell is this guy that we have chosen to follow as captain? Thought Nami and Usopp. We can start training today, but we have a lot of stuff to cover. Let's start with devil fruits. A devil fruit will give the eater an unknown ability. Once consumed, you will somehow know the name of your devil fruit. They can be found in 3 main categories: Paramecia, Logia and Zone. The abilities of a Paramecia vary so much that the easiest way to classify them is any devil fruit. That doesn't fit into the other 2 categories, such as Buggy's Chop Chop fruit, or my Pop's Tremor fruit, which allows the user to create and control earthquakes. They're considered the weakest of the 3 categories. What was that, Luffy? I could have sworn you said that white beard can create earthquakes, said Usopp, who was cleaning out his ears to make sure he heard correctly. You heard correct, Usopp. Now on to Logias. The ability a Logia is any devil fruit that allows the user to produce control and transform into an element or force of nature, making them intangible. I myself fall under this category, and Logias are considered the strongest out of the 3. Finally, we have zones. Zone types all have the ability to transform into animals. They always have 3 forms: their original form, a hybrid form such as a half leopard half human, and their full animal form. However, the interesting thing about zones is that they have 2 subcategories: ancient zones, which allow the user to transform into ancient creatures such as a mammoth. And then we have the mythical zones, which allow the user to transform into mythical creatures such as a phoenix. I think I'll leave out Devil Fruit Awakening for now. After all, I don't think we'll encounter an awakened user, thought Luffy. Now then, I think we should start our hockey training. We'll start with observation hockey since it's easier to learn. A few minutes later had Nami swinging a bat at a blindfolded Usopp while Kuro was swinging his bat at Zoro, who was blindfolded as well. After an hour of this, Kuro and Nami were blindfolded. I think that's enough for today. Now then, onto the 6 powers. Luffy, what are the 6 powers? Asked Usopp. The 6 powers are a martial art comprised of 6 techniques. There, shave. Wait, where'd he go? Asked Nami. That was faster than my foot maneuver, remarked Kuro. Yo, I'm over here, spoke Luffy from behind them, causing them all to turn around. Now in order to use shave you need to kick the ground 10 times in an instant. I wouldn't recommend trying it until you've built up the sufficient leg strength. The next technique requires even more leg strength than shave, as such being able to use shave is a requirement, and with that Luffy jumped, and then before hitting the ground he jumped again. This is called moonwalk, and you need kick the air so hard that it propels you upward. I see it, I just don't believe it, said Usopp. Just what kind of monster are you, thought Nami. It seems even without his devil fruit, the captain is incredibly strong, thought Kuro. Okay, next up is Tempest Kick. It requires being able to perform moonwalk before attempting, and this is what it does. At this, Luffy turned towards the ocean before unleashing a kick. To everyone's shock, a blade of wind cut through the ocean. I think that one's self-explanatory, said Luffy as he watched his flying blade cut clean through an outcropping rock. You kicked the air so hard it creates a flying blade of wind, yelled everyone in shock. Yep, said Luffy. Next we have the 2 defensive techniques of the 6 powers, paper body and iron body. For paper body you make your muscles go limp and relax, allowing your body to flow around attacks like a leaf or piece of paper. As for iron body, you tense your muscles till they're as hard as iron, though this technique renders you immobile. And finally, the last one is finger pistol. Simply put, a bullet is not needed to pierce someone's body. You can pick whichever ones you want to learn, but just so you know, iron body is inferior to armament hockey. Learning Tempest Kick requires both shave and moonwalk, and finger pistol requires the user to get close to the target. Anyway, that's lunch, spoke Luffy. Get out here, you stinking pirates, someone yelled out. Currently the crew were just finishing lunch, but was rudely interrupted. Luffy decided to handle the commotion. You think you can kill my partner? A short, ragged man yelled. Luffy smirked before punching him and sending him into the wall. Zoro stopped and listened to the stranger rant on. That you, Johnny? Who's saying my name? He was slightly dazed from the punch. Zoro realized the two were from his bounty hunting days. He then noticed Yosaku was sick, and Nami identified it as scurvy. She began squeezing lemons. Upon curing Yosaku of scurvy and being introduced as the 2 bounty hunters, they then set sail for the sea restaurant, Barati, to find a cook for the crew. Never seen that ship before, said a marine. I'm Luffy, we only made our flag the day before yesterday. However, he was cut off. The marine identified the bounty hunters. I know you. You're that bounty team that goes after the small fry. You think small fry would go after these guys? They said, throwing the wanted posters, and were ignored. They're an eyesore, sink 'em. I've got it, said Luffy. Tempest Kick. A blade of wind cut the cannonball clean into before continuing on and cutting the ship in half. Ops didn't mean to make it that powerful, oh well, no biggie. Okay guys, let's go in and enjoy some food, said Luffy as if nothing had happened. Good afternoon, may I escort you fine gentlemen and lovely lady to a table, spoke a blonde man in a suit. That would be wonderful, thanks, spoke Luffy. Lieutenant Iron Fist Full Body was not having a good day due to one of the waiters clearly swapping the wine from what he had requested, leading to him being embarrassed in front of his date. And everyone else dining at the sea restaurant Barati. Currently he was stewing in hatred and anger and plotting how to get the bastard waiter fired for changing the wine. A commotion to his right drew his attention and his eyes widened in shock. These were the pirates whose ship he ordered to sink, so why were they celebrating as if they just found trove of treasure? Oi you pirates, why aren't you at the bottom of the ocean? Simple, because I sank your ship first. What did you expect to happen when you fired a cannonball at my ship, said Luffy. I expect you to sink and die, yelled Full Body as he approached the table the 7 were sitting at. As if fodder like yourself could even scratch our ship, Now please leave, you're ruining my dining experience, Luffy said politely. You're not eating crap, yelled Full Body as he brought his down toward the table. At the same time Luffy kicked the table with just enough force send sliding out of Full Body's reach as he found the bladed tip of a G at his throat. Fodder like you often die first. You challenged me with no comprehension of my skill and no understanding of your own limitations. By doing so you have placed yourself at my mercy. And I have none for fools like yourself. Before anyone could blink, Luffy had reversed his G, thrusting the blunt end into the Marine's chest, sending him flying into the wall. My deepest apologies for disturbing everyone's meal, said Luffy while bowing. Oh no, not at all, spoke everyone in fear of a pirate who had toyed with the Marine as if he was a bug. After a few minutes Full Body regained conscience. It was then a Marine ran into the restaurant. Lieutenant, Lieutenant, he called, the prisoner he escaped while the ship was sinking. Impossible. When we picked him up, he was on the verge of starvation. We haven't given him anything to eat. Iron Fist Full Body looked confused. Suddenly a gunshot fired and the Marine dropped dead as Jin walked into the restaurant and sat down at a table and putting his feet up to rest on said table. Give me some food, now, he yelled. How will you be paying? Asked Patty. Does a bullet sound good? Said Jin putting the gun to his head. So you're saying you don't have any money, said Patty before bringing his massive fists down upon the pirate. He proceeded to kick him out of the restaurant. However, he was saved by Sanji, who brought him a plate of food. Luffy asked him to join his crew. Sanji however refused, which Luffy then refused his refusal. As Jin set sail he warned Luffy about going to the Grand Line, which Luffy told him he was still going to go. Brat, yelled Zeph. Get back to work. Come on in, Nami said as Luffy opened her door on the ship. She had her own women's quarters and was spending time planning. Luffy was on a break. You're leaving soon, aren't you? It was more a statement than question, but Nami nodded anyway. I don't understand why you won't just tell me what's or let me help. I don't want you to die, Nami sobbed as she burst into tears. Luffy smiled before pulling her into a hug. Nami smiled softly at the warmth and comfort of Luffy's chest. Stick around, Hawkeye's in East Blue. Luffy, who's Hawkeye? They were still hugging. One of the 7 warlords and the world's greatest swordsman. Luffy, what's a warlord? There are 7 pirates sanctioned by the world government in return for having their crimes ignored. They must lend their strength to the world government when they call. I can't stop you if you decide to take the ship and go, just as you can't stop us from following. The next day, it's Don Krieg flagship. The customers screamed in terror as they proceeded to run. Why is he coming here? Sanji asked. Maybe Jin came to repay his debt to you, Luffy suggested. Absolutely not, spoke Kuro. No, I don't think that's it, replied Sanji as they waited for Krieg to arrive. They found him on the verge of starvation and begging for food. He was refused until Sanji placed a bowl of food, which Krieg began to stuff into his mouth. Sanji, duck, yelled Luffy. Sanji, realizing what Luffy meant, he ducked, avoiding a fatal blow from the pirate fleet captain. Don Krieg, why did you attack him? Asked a shocked Jin. Krieg only injured his shoulder. This is a nice ship. I'll take it, and as for you cooks, prepare meals for 100 men. Looks like I will be cooking 100 more meals, said Sanji as he walked to the kitchen. He was stopped by the other chefs. How about some dessert? Yelled Patty, shooting at Krieg with a cannon-like weapon. Krieg appeared unharmed and he ranted that he was the strongest and would become the Pirate King. The one who will be Pirate King is me, Luffy interrupted. And as for the strongest, you are nowhere close to Pop's level. I'll let you take that back, Krieg snarled. No need. The truth is you're just fodder, who has no idea how big the world really is, Luffy lectured. How can you say that? A chef questioned. Luffy frowned. It's simple. I don't fear this pitiful worm. He said it casually, as if this was normal. Krieg was about to show Luffy real fear when Zeph placed a sack of food, interrupting them. This is about 100 meals. Take it to your men and go. Krieg examined him before recognizing the older male. You're Redfoot Zeph. He began explaining who he was and that he had bedden on the Grand Line. Give me your logbook. Zeph refused. I will return once my crew's been fed, spoke Krieg. It was then Johnny and Yosaku. Big bro Luffy, big sis Nami, she stole the Going Merry. I guess that means we better follow her. Now men, take that ship and the Grand Line will be ours, Krieg yelled. We're going back there? One of the crew questioned. He was tired and scared at the same time. He was then shot in the hip. Suddenly a slash went through the ship, slicing it in half. It's him, a crewmate yelled in fear as Mihawk unsheathed his blade. Don't screw with us, he warned, pulling out a pistol. A bullet shot at Mihawk, however it was altered by a slight tilt of the blade. I've never seen a sword handled so gently or with such grace, said Zoro. Brute force alone is not the secret to powerful swordplay, Mihawk dully stated. Did you also use that sword to cut this ship? Asked Zoro. Correct, Mihawk replied. So it's true you're the best. I set forth for only one reason to meet you. Your goal? Asked Mihawk uninterested. To beat you, stated Zoro, drawing his swords and pointing them at Mihawk. Let's go. Zoro immediately rushed Mihawk, onijiri. His attack was immediately stopped by a small pocket knife that Mihawk had drawn, stopping Zoro's blades mid-swing. What? Zoro gasped. How is that possible? He stopped my attack with nothing but a pocket knife. I am not that far behind the world's greatest, yelled Zoro as he launched viscous attacks. Such powerful swordplay, Mihawk remarked before dodging and striking Zoro in the back of the neck, almost causing him to lose conscious. Tiger. Mihawk lunged forward, his knife piercing Zoro's chest. Why do you not step back? He asked. If I retreat even one step I'll be shattering all the promise I've made, answered Zoro. Yes, that is called defeat, stated Mihawk. And that's why I will not step back, said Zoro. Even if it means death? Asked Mihawk. Death would be better, replied Zoro. Such a strong will, he prefers death over defeat, thought Mihawk, spoke Mihawk. Rorinoa Zoro, he said. I'll remember it, Mihawk said, drawing his black blade. It's been a while since someone like you has come along as a swordsman. Courtesy, I'll use the world's strongest blade. I appreciated 3-sword style secret technique. Zoro began to spin 2 of his blades in a circle, 3,000 worlds. Finished Zoro, as he rushed past Mihawk, his blades shattering and blood squirting from his chest. What now? Asked Mihawk, seeing that Zoro had sheathed his remaining blade and was facing him. Scars on the back are a swordsman's shame, replied Zoro. Well said, said Mihawk before bringing his blade down and slashing open Zoro's chest. Despite this, Luffy did not move. His first mate was fine, as he vanished and reappeared at Mihawk's side. It's you, said Mihawk, recognizing the boy in the straw hat. He had seen him cheering on Thatch along with another child when the two clashed blades roughly 10 years ago. What do you want? East Blue is boring, how about a spar? Said Luffy while drawing his G. I'm mainly here to kill time, but a spar against you sounds interesting, spoke Mihawk. Immediately the two charged each other. Steel on steel rang out constantly, sparks flying at the intense clash of the two warriors testing each other. A lance of lightning soon formed in Luffy's left hand, who surprisingly threw it at the warlord, who ducked just in time. It continued until the horizon before exploding into massive blue dome of energy easily stretching several miles across. I can't let that hit me, thought Mihawk, who just brought Yuru up in time to block Luffy's G, who had appeared behind him. Add to his surprise, the bladed tip started to slowly cut through his hockey-infused blade. He quickly disengaged. I think that's quite enough, don't you? If we kick it up any further we'll risk destroying what little footing we have, reasoned Mihawk. I agree, said Luffy. Well, that certainly killed my boredom, spoke Mihawk. Everyone had watched in the battle in awe of the two titans. Usopp cowered in fear behind Kuro, who looked in amazement. He held back on me, the man thought, remembering the short battle not long ago. Zeph appeared the only one not surprised, having found out that Luffy was raised by the Whitebeard pirates during his stay. Writing this chapter was fun and I enjoyed on. Another note, I haven't heard from my beta reader in 2 months, as such I'm looking for one again. As for how Luffy nearly cut, thought Mihawk, hockey, he dosed this by using his devil fruit to send an electric current, though the bladed end causing it to vibrate at high frequency. Don't forget to review, favorite and follow. Omake Nami was currently making her way to Arlong Park when some kind of bright blue light zoomed overhead. With Arlong, Nami should be back soon, he said. What's that blue light heading towards us? Spoke Karubi. Boom, what was that? yelled Genzo, who heard a massive explosion. It came from Arlong Park. Spoke a villager. Everyone stay here, I shall investigate. Upon arriving at Arlong Park, all he found was a massive crater and the charred remains of several fishmen.